came back on by itself.
You think it was just because we connected it midstream?
I'm not sure.
I mean, that looks steady.
Yeah.
Can you hear? Can you? Okay, let's do it.
You want to try linking it back over there? Or not even over?
No, let's leave it.
I don't want to touch it.
I'm not touching it.
Yeah.
Colin will go here. I will go on the other side of the
So I'll take
glass.
my seat.
My headset can just go around the window. It's fine.
Thanks for sharing.
Well, holy shit, we're not actually broadcasting. Hi, Jack.
Close quarters. Good thing my laptop's plugged in for one at a time. Yep.
Because we plugged in straight to the thing and it's push.
So we'll run it like this for today. If we ever have another game here, then we can try plugging into this port and doing it normally. It's just basically the only difference would be from here and there. Maybe it'll solve itself by then. Who
I'm gonna
knows?
order a longer cord anyway.
It's not a bad
Although I
idea.
guess we have to plug into that anyway, so it's
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't want to risk unplugging it and trying to make video and not have anything at all. Thought that would be different than plugging it an inch lower.
I don't know, man. Oh, by the way, fun little tidbit from last game. I thought it was hilarious. Matt and I kind of had a shared chuckle about it. He said, should we get lunch for Bill? I was like,
Oh.
whoa.
I think so, yeah.
No, okay, it is Matt.
Oh, okay. Oh, put it here, yeah. Mute everything.
check, check. Whoa. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Audio good?
Yeah, you can lower it yourself on your end if you want to just do that. Check 1, 2, mic check.
Here, Colin.
Yep.
Colin. Turn the headphones to mid,
Headphones, yep.
and then turn the ones back to where we had at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
All 3 of them. Or 2 of them. Hello, everybody, and welcome to White House Field for a do-or-die matchup between the Harwich Mariners and the Brewster Whitecaps. Both of these teams enter this game with their playoff hopes still alive, and one may very well leave with their hopes dashed. Everybody, I'm Tyler Henry, joined by Colin Casey, and here at White House Field in the second half of a split doubleheader that features the Harwich Mariners and Brewster Whitecaps, a Mariners team that dropped a tough loss earlier today to the Orleans Firebirds by a final score of 8-5, and on the flip side, a Brewster Whitecaps team that had a game at Orleans at Chatham, and was able to come back and get a big-time victory in the 6th inning. So, Colin, here's the situation as we go into today's game. The Harwich Mariners sit in 4th place in the East with 41 points. The Brewster Whitecaps sit in the basement with 38 points. And the next 2 games for Harwich, the last 2 of their season, will be with this Brewster Whitecaps squad. For the Harwich, it's very simple. If you win one of these 2 games, you're in the playoffs and Brewster is out. For the Whitecaps, if they win both of these 2 games, they're in the playoffs and Harwich is out. So it's much easier for a Mariners squad that only needs to get 1 win, and they have the perfect situation to do it here with Jacob Polish getting the start. Colin, has Jacob Polish been awfully good in his last couple of 7-inning starts?
Oh, he certainly has been. I mean, I don't even think he's lost any of these 7-inning starts that he's pitched in, but the numbers speak for themselves, truly. I mean, he's got a .93 ERA, which was the lowest on the team until Will Heflin had a really good outing last night at Shem, but still a great year. 4-1, .093 ERA in 29 innings for Polish, and he'll look to go out and clinch a playoff berth for the Mariners against a Brewster team that just came back and got a really strong win, 8-5 over the Chatham Anglers. And one quick reminder, folks, that we do not have video at the moment. We do apologize for that, but we will give you audio play-by-play for the duration of this game.
So it'll be Brett Auerbach to lead things off for the Brewster Whitecaps. And really quickly, in case you've forgotten, the last 2 games that Jacob Polish pitched in that went just 7 innings, he threw 2 complete game shutouts, including a no-hitter against the Orleans Firebirds. So he will face off against this lineup. It'll be Brett Auerbach leading things off for the Whitecaps and catching. Jesse Franklin plays in left field. Gage Workman at short. Tyler Gentry in right. Tyler Hardman is your third baseman today as the first pitch from Polish misses up and away. TJ Collette is your first baseman. Malfetta the DH. Marcos Castanon the second baseman, and Duke Ellis is your center fielder today. Polish's 1-0 pitch is on its way, and once again trying to bunt it back is Auerbach, and he will foul it off, and the count evens here at 1-1.
Auerbach himself had quite the game just a few hours ago, including the big 2-run home run that made it 5-3.
So with a 1-1 count, Auerbach will stand back in here. Big at bat coming up, and he will swing through an off-speed pitch from Jacob Polish for strike 2. Polish has been the best pitcher in the Harwich rotation throughout this entire year, and he was the guy that kind of came in and replaced somebody that everybody wondered who was going to replace, and Logan Allen. As his 1-2 pitch is on its way. That one is going to just miss low, and the count goes even at 2-2. But let's take a look at Polish. His entire body of work this year, a 4-1 record, a .93 ERA as a starter. And through 30 innings pitched, he has given up 17 hits, 5 runs on the season, and he's walked just 5 compared to 33 strikeouts, as here he will get Brett Auerbach to foul one off to the right side. But Colin, the biggest concern here is the shift in momentum, as again, Harwich had the lead in a game against Orleans and ended up allowing an Orleans comeback, whereas Brewster is just fresh off of the big comeback against Chatham in a game that they took 8-5. So see how Harwich responds here, but with their ace on the hill, this is a great spot to be in, as the 0-2, or 2-2 rather, is going to be chopped foul down the third baseline. Let's have the defense for the Harwich Mariners. It will be Mike Rothenberg getting the start behind the dish today. Back over to first is Nico Cavadas. Corey Acton playing at second. Hal Hughes at short. Riley Terada is your third baseman today. And then the outfield will be Dylan Noisy in center, Chris Galland in left, and Daniel Cabrera in right. This one's fouled away, and the count stays 2-2.
Yeah, lengthy at-bat to be in the ball game for Auerbach, making Polish throw a lot of pitches, which is really important because he tends to go deep in pretty much every start that he's made.
Especially the last 2 7-inning starts where, again, he was able to go through all the way through both games. Here's a ball chopped to third. Terada comes in, picks it up, throws across the diamond, and it's in time for the first out of the inning.
Yeah, important for Terada to make a quick throw over to first because despite being a catcher, Auerbach's got plenty of speed in that leadoff spot, and Riley making it look easy, so a much-needed first out for the Mariners to be in the ballgame.
So here comes Jesse Franklin. Franklin, one of the other newer faces in the lineup for this team, and a good reason for that. He was playing during the championship run for the Michigan Wolverines, and a run that came up just short at the hands of the Vanderbilt Commodores. But he's added a little extra pop to the lineup here for the Brewster Whitecaps, and again, a team that already has a lot of talent. As Polish's pitch is in there for a strike, Jesse Franklin's added even more to that, hitting .268 on the year with 7 RBIs.
Just the first official at-bat against Harwich on the season for Franklin, so he hasn't really seen this team very much.
And here's a ball taken up the middle. This has a chance to get through. Acton comes through, backhands, throws to first. It's not in time. So it's going to be ruled an infield single. The speed of Jesse Franklin on full display as he's able to hustle that one out down the line, and the Whitecaps have a runner on here with 1 out. And Gage Workman, the All-Star MVP, coming to the plate.
Yeah, that was just a perfectly placed hit from Franklin. It wasn't hit hard enough to get through, but it was hit in a spot where even if it didn't get through, it would have been a tough play at second for Acton. He did all he could, but had to make an off-balance throw, and as you mentioned, just too much speed out of the left fielder Franklin.
So here comes the dangerous part of the order for the Brewster Whitecaps, starting off with Gage Workman, who's been killing opposing pitching this year. Workman out of the University of out of Arizona State University will foul the first pitch back, and a .264 clip for him this year, 20 RBIs. That's good for second marks on the team. And, you know, we saw him on full display at the All-Star game and an inside-the-park home run, and then he goes ahead and adds a big RBI at the end of that game in a game the East would win handily. Or not handily, but win in a walk-off victory. Polish has him with an 0-1 count here. Pretty decent lead over at first for Jesse Franklin. We've already seen his speed once today. Here comes the 0-1. It's off speed, and Workman goes right through that. Polish has got him with an 0-2 count.
It was a good-looking pitch from Polish. Had some downward movement on it, and that might be to try to roll a double play ball here with runner on first and 1 away.
Double play would certainly help the Harwich Mariners' cause, as, again, they just have to get through the 7-inning victory on top, and they find themselves in a playoff spot. Here comes the 0-2 pitch. Swung on and taken down the third baseline, but foul. It gets just on the left side of third base as Riley Terrata came over to cover. So the count stays 0-2 here on Gage Workman, who this year has not been the biggest victim of the strike. Actually, he's been a pretty big victim of the strikeout pitch. 40 Ks for him this year.
And this is a lineup that has done really well this season against left-handed pitching, hitting .281 with 18 home runs against lefties.
So it's going to be fire against fire here as the Mariners throwing their best lefty against a lineup that hits lefties relatively well. We'll see which breaks first. Here comes the 0-2. That one will just narrowly miss outside. Let's remind you of what Jacob Polish will be working with. Polish, coming out of the University of Stanford, throws a fastball, curveball, slider, changeup. The changeup, a pitch he's been developing throughout the course of the summer. His fastball not overpowering, between 89 and 91 miles an hour, but the off-speed is really what's allowed him to just dazzle this season. He comes to the belt, checks the runner back to first. Long look in, and here comes the 1-2. Curveball in there, strike three, and Gage Workman goes down looking for the second Mariner out of the inning.
And I think Polish might have kind of caught Workman off guard a little bit looking in for that long. Workman decided not to call time, and just a perfect pitch on the outside corner from Polish nets him his first strikeout of the ballgame.
So here comes Tyler Gentry, one of two Tylers that has just wreaked havoc on Harwich this year, the other of which stands in the on-deck circle. We'll get to him in just a moment, but Tyler Gentry coming to the plate here, runner on first, 2 away here in the top half of the first inning. Jacob Polish, another long look over to first, brings the pitch home from the stretch, and it's in there, a first pitch fastball for strike one.
Yeah, looking at what Gentry's done against Harwich this season, he's 3 for 10 with a home run and 4 RBIs. He also has a triple, so 2 of those 3 hits going for extra base hits.
So Tyler Gentry standing in from the left side, a right-handed hitter, and he will chop this one to third. It'll be picked up by Terrata, and he will once again throw all the way across in time for the third out of the inning. So Jesse Franklin finds his way on, but nobody comes across for Brewster. We're knotted up 0-0 as we go to the home half of the first here on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey here on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Once again, we are experiencing some technical difficulties with our video stream, but we will be providing you radio play-by-play for the entirety of this game. A very important one for the Harwich Mariners is, once again, if they get a win here today, they are in the playoffs and they can bump the Brewster Whitecaps. But for the Caps, the only hope for their playoff hopes is to get a victory here and have a chance to beat Harwich again tomorrow. So out there on the bump is Daniel Harper, an interesting choice because, again, we know this for a fact. The Brewster Whitecaps are saving Mason Black for tomorrow's game, but if they lose today, Colin, their season's over anyway.
Right, it's a really tough situation to be in if you're the Brewster Whitecaps because you don't know if you should prepare for now or prepare for a potential game tomorrow that could have some serious importance. But instead it's Harper, and he's kind of struggled a little bit, so it's going to be a tough battle for Harper. Let's see if he can bounce back.
So it'll be Dylan Noisy leading things off here for Harwich. He will stand in from the left side, another right-handed hitter here in the Mariners lineup, and he will get the start leading things off for Harwich. So again, here in the first inning, Mariners looking to get something started off the aforementioned Daniel Harper. First pitch is on its way, and it's going to be in there for strike one. Last time Harper pitched against Harwich, it did not go so well for him as he went 2 2/3 innings, gave up 8 hits, 5 runs. Harwich would then turn around and just go to town on the relief pitcher that came into the game, striking for 11 as the 0-1 pitch is taken up the middle by Dylan Noisy. He'll have a chance, and it's under the glove of the shortstop Workman, so it's going to be ruled a single probably here for Dylan Noisy, and Harwich has a leadoff hit to start the game.
Yeah, it would have taken a really, really good play to get at least to that ball from Gage Workman, and I don't think anyone has a chance of throwing out the speed of Dylan Noisy at first base, so a very important leadoff man on to begin the bottom of the first for Harwich.
Here comes Chris Galland in the 2-hole. Again, Galland, one of the hottest hitters in the Harwich lineup, and he had a tough patch in that first game, an 0-for-4 for him against Orleans. But he stands in from the left side. First pitch is on its way, and once again, it's a slider in there for strike one, as Daniel Harper wasting no time going at the strike zone here.
And Gallen's been pretty solid against Brewster this season. He's got 3 RBIs and 3 runs scored against the Whitecaps.
We'll set the Harwich lineup for you here in just a moment. The next pitch is on its way. That one's going to be taken up, a broken bat pop fly that will stay on the infield. Workman will settle under it and make the catch for out number 2 as the bat of Chris Galland went flying, so a bit of a dangerous play there. So Noisy and Galland have already hit. That'll bring Daniel Cabrera, who's playing in right field, up to the dish. Then Chris Lanzilli, the DH. Nico Cavadas at first. Corey Acton at second. Pat Winkle, the catcher. Riley Terada at third. And Hal Hughes at short. So Daniel Cabrera, who himself in that first game had a 1-for-3, but had the solo shot in the third inning that at the time gave Harwich a 3-2 lead. He'll stand in from the right side, runner on first base, one away here in the bottom half of the first. And the first pitch is a fastball in there for strike one to Daniel Cabrera, low and inside.
Yeah, Cabrera was the batting average leader on the team going into the first game, but Chris Lanzilli has taken over in that department.
So another pitch is on its way here from Daniel Harper, and that one's going to be slapped hard at Workman, who picks it up, throws the short way for one. They try to turn two, and they won't. A lot of speed for Daniel Cabrera, and he will reach on a fielder's choice, but that'll put 2 away in the inning for Chris Lanzilli. However, the way Chris Lanzilli hit in that first game, Colin, it may or may not even matter.
Certainly. I mean, he's homered in each of his last 3 at-bats. It's been a remarkable stretch for Chris Lanzilli, and make it now, I think, 4 games since he's last gotten out. That wasn't a sacrifice fly. It's really hard to word that, honestly, but the last non-productive out that Chris Lanzilli's recorded.
Set the defense for you really quickly for the Brewster Whitecaps. The first pitch misses outside, gets past the outstretched arm of Auerbach, and that will allow the runner to move up 90 more feet. So Daniel Cabrera takes second on the passed ball. So it will be Auerbach behind the dish, TJ Collette at first, Marcos Castanon at second, Gage Workman at short, Tyler Hardman at third, Jesse Franklin in left, Duke Ellis in center, and Tyler Gentry is getting the start out in right. Lanzilli, the DH today, who had a 3-for-3 with 3 home runs back in game 1 of the doubleheader, stands in, and checking the runner back to second is Daniel Harper.
And looking back to that game, 2 of Lanzilli's 3 home runs came with 2 away in the inning.
2 away here as it's a 1-0 count on Chris Lanzilli. Runner in scoring position, 0-0 game, and Lanzilli takes it up the right side. That's going to get into the gap in front of Tyler Gentry. He will pick it up and throw into the pitcher. And it's going to be runners at the corners here for Nico Cavadas. Harwich is in business once again with 2 outs.
And I think that was the right call at third base to hold up Cabrera. I mean, Tyler Gentry is one of the best arms in the entire CCBL. That one cut off there, but it looked like it was coming in hot, so smart to play station for station with Nico Cavadas coming to the plate.
Cavadas has had a couple of crucial not pinch hit, but a couple of crucial spot hits over the course of the last couple of weeks, despite the fact that he's been a little bit cooled off recently, but it seems like when he's needed to come through, he has found his way on base. So Cavadas will stand in here to face off against Daniel Harper for the first time today. The big righty comes set, brings the first pitch home, and Cavadas was trying to give Harwich a 3 spot with one swing of the bat as he cuts through that one.
Yeah, Cavadas has a home run against Brewster. It was a 3-run shot. Actually, the batter after Daniel Harper came out of the game after that rough start at Stony Brook Field in the 3rd inning.
The 0-1 to Cavadas. Breaking ball in there for strike 2. Nico Cavadas this year is hitting .333 with runners in scoring position. That number bumps up to .368 when there are 2 outs. So a big spot for Nico, the big lefty standing in to face off against the righty Harper. Here comes the 0-2 pitch, and that one will be off the catcher's mask as it looked like it bounced off the bat of Cavadas, so Home plate umpire Tim Carey will give the catcher a moment to recover. And let's set the umpires really quickly. Tim Carey gets to start behind the dish. John Paterla at first base and Rich Galanti at third.
I'm sure it's been a long day for Brett Auerbach behind the plate. I believe he caught game one, or if he didn't, he was at least in some capacity involved in the game, whether it be a DH or an outfielder. But I'm sure he's feeling some of the fatigue, as is the opposing catcher, Pat Winkle.
Here comes the 0-2, and that's going to be just on the outside half, apparently. Cavadas doesn't like it, very upset, and that will end the inning. So Harwich is able to get runners on first and third, but can't make anything of it. We go to the second. Another inning of play coming up after this, knotted up 0-0 on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey, knotted up 0-0 here as we go to the second inning. And here comes the Harwich Mariner killer himself, Tyler Hardman, and a guy that I think most of us would sleep a lot better at night if we never had to see take another pitch in a Brewster Whitecaps jersey against Harwich. But nonetheless, he'll be hitting with nobody on here. Let's remind you of why. In his last two games against the Mariners, Tyler Hardman has gone 6 for 8 with 4 home runs and 8 RBIs.
Yeah, it certainly has been one of the more intimidating batters that Harwich has had to face this season, along with Shea Whitcomb from the last game, but just two guys that really see the ball well against some of the best pitching in the entire CCBL.
0-1 count's on its way, and Polish will just miss that one low and away to even the count here at 1-1. The only hit that he surrendered so far was in the first inning against Jesse Franklin. Aside from that, it was 3 up, 3 down for Jacob Polish, who comes from the wind-up, brings the pitch home, and he's got Hardman way ahead of that one, 1-2.
Yeah, that's really crazy, though, for Hardman, having 5 hits and 8 at-bats and 4 of them being long balls. I mean, that's just an insane clip to have against a certain team, and now they really need him to step up in the biggest moment this season.
The 1-2, that'll miss up and in around the shoulder of Tyler Hardman, and the count is even here at 2-2. Jacob Polish is a guy who has not pitched against the Brewster Whitecaps yet this year. His starts came against Wareham, and Orleans. The 2-2 from Polish. Slider misses outside, and the count stays full here against Tyler Hardman, whose forte has not been reaching on walks. It's been getting crucial, timely hits. So we'll see whether or not that remains consistent here as he stands in and awaits the 3-2. Polish is ready, and here it comes. That'll be popped high in the air out to right field. Daniel Cabrera will take about 5 steps to his right, settle under it, and make the catch for out number 1.
Yeah, it's much needed out there. I mean, anytime Tyler Hardman hits a fly ball, you kind of hold your breath and hope it stays in the ballpark, but got a little jammed on that one. I think Polish made him climb the ladder, and there's a routine fly out to Daniel Cabrera out in right field.
Colin, if I'm not mistaken, I think those games both came at Stony Brook Field. So all of those home runs were hit not here in the confines of White House, where it's much harder to...
I think he had 2 of them. Had a 2-home-run game here in the 6-4 ball game.
Okay, here's the ball right back up the middle, but into the shift, as picking it up and throwing it over to Cavadas, who's not on the bag, but he turns and tags TJ Collette for the out. So how about that? Hal Hughes playing the shift. He's literally standing on second base when he grabs that ball. He throws and takes Cavadas off the bag, but Cavadas is able to tag Collette, and that's the second out of the inning.
Hey, it makes a lot of sense to shift on a guy like Collette, who is just an insane pull hitter towards right field, and that time Coach Englert kind of did his homework and it worked off, and it paid off, excuse me, as Hal Hughes is playing in the right place for that ground ball, and a little bit of wide throw, but good athleticism from Cavadas over at first base.
So the absolutely stacked top of the order is now done. It'll be Christian Malfetta, Marcos Castanon, and Duke Ellis coming up. And Ellis, an interesting guy, as the first pitch is going to miss outside for ball one, as he was the leadoff man against the Chatham Anglers just about 2 hours ago, and now he's hitting in the 9-hole. Next pitch to Malfetta's fouled away, and the count even here at 1-1.
And Malfetta gets to face his Stanford teammate right now, and this might be a great matchup for Malfetta. He knows a lot about the pitcher, and he's hitting .450 on the season against lefties. He's hitting 9 of 20.
The age-old question of who has the edge in one of these matchups is Polish kicks and deals. That one's going to be ripped into the 5-hole down the left side, and it's going to get through to Chris Galland in left field. So another single here, this time with 2 away for Christian Malfetta, and that'll bring up Marcos Castanon with 2 away in the inning.
Yeah, I mean, you want to talk about a platoon player. It's definitely Malfetta when you have that high average against lefties compared to just 231 against righties, and a lot of power coming against lefties as well. He's got 2 home runs and a double against southpaws. So good job of 2-out hitting, not trying to do too much, just hits a low liner that gets to the left side of the infield.
Well, Christian Malfetta is one of the most rare players in the Cape Cod Baseball League because this is actually his 4th season with the Brewster Whitecaps. He's been here since his freshman year of college. So a guy that I guess liked being around, and that's part of the reason why he's been able to stay here. Polish delivers a strike, a fastball right in the zone to Marcos Castanon to start his at-bat.
And I'm sure he, more than anybody, wants his last season to continue. And the only way to do that is to pick up a couple of victories against the Harwich Mariners.
In a league filled with turnover, he's one of the rare exceptions as the 0-1 misses low for a ball to even the count at 1-1. He was a part of the team 3 years ago, I believe it was, that won the CCBL championship title for the Brewster Whitecaps. So a guy who's already got 1 ring. Whitecaps looking to get into a position and maybe try to strike for another, but they have to beat Harwich in back-to-back games to do that just to make the playoffs as they currently sit in the basement. Here comes the 1-1 pitch. That one's going to be fouled high in the air and down the right field line. Cabrera will jog over, but that one will drift foul, and the count goes 1-2 here.
Yeah, keep in mind this game's 7 innings today. Tomorrow, the game will be 9 innings between Brewster and Harwich, so both teams have won a game at each respective ballpark. Harwich 1-1 here and 1-1 at Stony Brook. So kind of a rubber match for both sites today and tomorrow.
In games that do not go 9 full innings, which this one will not, Harwich on the season is 7-2. Polish checks the runner back to first, brings home the 1-2 pitch. That'll just miss outside, and the count is even here at 2-2. And you know, that's the other thing. In a league filled with turnover, where you have pretty much a new roster every single year, it's kind of rare to see anybody return, much less for multiple years and much less for all 4 years. So Malfetta, a guy that's been around since his freshman season, and now he's standing over there on first base. He has not been one of the brightest spots in this Brewster lineup at any point during his career, but a guy that knows the league and is very comfortable coming back, as this one is fouled down the line by Marcos Castanon.
And although there hasn't been really any results through an inning and 2/3 for this Brewster lineup, they are making Jacob Polish throw a ton of pitches early on.
The one fortunate thing there is that this is a 7-inning game, so Harwich's bullpen will not be as taxed, and pretty much it's going to be whoever's available today. If Harwich is even close to sealing the victory, you get the feeling they're going all in here with only 2 games left in the season. Polish sets the 2-2 pitch. Swung on and popped the mile high. This one will stay on the infield as Winkle chases it back to the screen, and this one will fall into the bleachers. A bleacher set that has really filled up here, I might add, that the first game coming at 2 o'clock definitely didn't have a too big of an audience, but this one has really filled up.
Hope everyone brought their glove.
Clearly a couple of people who did not, as that one smacks the bleachers. Fortunately, it does not hit anybody, and the count stays 2-2. So Castanon looking to find his way on base here, hitting in the 8-hole with a runner on first. Still tied up 0-0 in the top half of the second inning. Jacob Polish working through his second inning of play. Comes set, checks the runner back to first, and brings home the 2-2. That's swung on and taken down the line, and this is going to be just foul, which is fortunate for Harwich because Riley Terada couldn't quite get his glove on it, the diving play, but he's unable to get any leather there, and the count stays 2-2 here on Marcos Castanon.
Yeah, about 3 feet to the right for that ball, and it would be second and third with 2 away in the inning with a dangerous opportunity. But luckily, baseball's a game of inches, and that one in favor of the Harwich Mariners.
So the count is 2-2 for a 6th consecutive pitch, and that's really been what's helped the Mariners out here or not helped the Mariners, I should say, but that's what's allowed Polish to do what he's done. 2-2 count. Marcos Castanon standing in. He's got Christian Malfetta at first with 2 outs. Here comes the pitch from Polish, and he'll foul it off. We will do it again.
Temperature hasn't dropped too much from the first game. It's still pretty hot out here in Harwich.
It's about 80 degrees right now, but with the mugginess, it feels probably closer to 87, 88. So a 2-2 count. Polish's pitch count is going to become the biggest concerning number for him going through the rest of this game, especially with how deep Brewster's been taking him into these at-bats. Malfetta, a pretty sizable lead, 2-2, and this one's going to be nailed out to left field. Galland will chase it back into the corner, and he will make the catch for out number 3. So the side is retired after a runner gets on, and we will go on to the home half of the second. Still knotted up 0-0 here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go to the home half of the second. Harwich looking to strike first in this game. Again, a 7-inning game between the Brewster Whitecaps and the Harwich Mariners. And Colin, no other scores to be worried about right now. We will continue to give you scoreboard updates as we have. But the most important game in the entire league obviously happening right here, right now, is the winner of this game has a great opportunity. If it's Harwich, they're in the playoffs. If it's Brewster, they have an opportunity to make the playoffs tomorrow with a win or a tie with the Mariners.
Yeah, you almost want to think of this as a best-of-3 series with Harwich coming in already won game 1. So Brewster's got to go back-to-back. Harwich just 1 win in the next 2 games.
Brewster essentially has to reset the bracket with a victory over the M's. So coming to the plate here is Corey Acton, who again has really found his stride, including a 2-for-3 game yesterday where he had an RBI triple and a 3-run bomb. And here he will lift one into deep left field. It's going to chase Franklin back. He looks up, and it's into the tree line. Corey Acton with a solo shot, and the Mariners are up early 1-0.
How about that? First pitch of the inning. Corey Acton turns it around and puts it over the left center field fence. That's the second time he's hit one opposite field. So Corey Acton out of the University of Florida showing a lot of opposite field power to all parts of the field as he hits his 3rd home run of the season.
Corey Acton just blasted that ball opposite field, as you mentioned. That's his 3rd home run of the day. He takes sole possession of second place on the team. And here comes Pat Winkle, the guy who had his first home run a little while ago as well. It was about 3 days ago, or 3 games ago for Winkle. So watch the first pitch miss low for a ball.
That's big for Harwich to jump out in front. Obviously, they didn't have the same outcome they would have liked for leading early in the last game, but it's a lot easier when you're ahead.
Winkle will foul this one off. Count evens at 1-1 here as Daniel Harper continues to do what he does best, and that's give up runs to Harwich hitting. He allowed 5 the last time out. This time he has given up 1. And you know what? Honestly, if you're a Brewster fan, if you're anything of that nature, this has to be the most frustrating thing ever. You have a guy like Mason Black at your disposal as this pitch is in there for another strike to Pat Winkle, and you don't throw him. It makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. If you lose today, your season is over, and they elect to go with Daniel Harper instead, who gives up a run here.
Yeah, definitely a tough situation to be in, but let's see if Harper can kind of rebound.
1-2. That one's going to be taken up the right side. An opportunity for the second baseman to get it, but Castanon can't quite get his glove on it. It'll be a base hit here for Pat Winkle, and the Harwich inning continues. And that's obviously the flip side. If you're Harwich, you love to see Daniel Harper back out there after he gave up the 5 hits and the 5 runs and the 8 hits in the first game.
Yeah, that ground ball from Pat Winkle took Castanon all the way out to the right field grass and made a sliding effort, but the ball took a bit of a hop on that lip and got past him. So seeing eye single for Winkle, and now the inning kind of resets even after the home run. Essentially, the leadoff man's on for the Mariners.
So here comes Riley Terada. First time he's seen action in the last couple of days. Actually, I believe he got to start a few days ago, but the first pitch he sees will be fouled away. This will be Terada's first time facing off against Daniel Harper. I believe it's his first time facing Brewster in general.
Now, a big stat to look at is in the prior 2 games that Harwich has won against Brewster, they scored first in both of those.
Getting out in front has always been important for the Mariners. Here comes the 0-1 to Terada. He will watch it go by low and outside as that pitch broke out of the zone, and the count goes 1-1.
Now, it hasn't been as easy as it kind of sounds from those stats, as Brewster had erased a 4-1 deficit to tie the game at 4-4 before Harwich added 2 more to take a 6-4 victory at White House Field. And of course, the other one, it was an 11-0 lead for Harwich, and final score in that game was 12-11 Mariners.
1-1 pitch, fouled off the glove of Brett Auerbach, and the count goes 1-2 here on Riley Terada. And yeah, really the only teams that have mounted big-time comebacks against Harwich this year, at least that have been successful, have been the Chatham Anglers and the Orleans Firebirds. Orleans, of course, has done it 4 times this year, and then, of course, the Chatham A's did it twice. But nonetheless, Harwich still even up the season series with Chatham, and while they did go 1-5 against Orleans this year, they're seeing Brewster fairly well. The 1-2 to Terada. That's going to be taken up the middle, and that's going to get down in the right field gap. They will send the runner around to third. He will be in without a throw, so Pat Winkle moves up to third base, and Harwich's inning continues here with nobody out, and Hal Hughes coming to the plate.
More production out of the bottom of the order for the Mariners as you had Acton, the leadoff home run, Winkle able to find a gap on the right side of the infield, and Terada just stings one the other way into right center field, and now you got runners at the corners with still nobody out, and essentially your second leadoff hitter in Hal Hughes, the way he's been putting bat on the ball over the last few games.
Hughes did go 0-2 in the first half of the doubleheader, but yesterday he found his way on base twice, came around to score, and had an RBI to add on to that total. And then, of course, against YD in a losing effort, he really looked good as here he squares to bunt and pulls it back to take ball 1.
Infield's going to be a double play depth, so they're still going to look to trade a run for 2 outs, and I think that's smart. We've seen Brewster come back earlier in the game. They have the offense to come back. Right now, they just need to minimize the damage in the second.
Pretty decent lead for both Winkle at third and Terada at first. Once again squaring to bunt and pulling it back to take ball 2 is Hal Hughes. And the one thing you really can't do right now if you're Daniel Harper is walk the bases loaded for Dylan Noisy with how well he's been playing. Noisy's already got 1 single today. He stands on deck. Hal Hughes stands at the plate with a 2-0 count. Daniel Harper comes set from the stretch, brings the pitch home. And squaring to bunt, laying a good one down. Hughes is going to have a chance to beat this out. He won't, but it gets the job done as another run comes across to score. Pat Winkle comes home. Riley Terada moves up to second. And there's a runner in scoring position for Dylan Noisy with 1 away.
And that's just excellent situation baseball by Hal Hughes and the Harwich Mariners, getting that bunt down to the right side of the infield, which allows Winkle to come home easily with the infield playing back. You also move the runner up to second with just 1 away in the inning, and the top of the order's up. So just all-around perfect execution by Hal Hughes as he picks up an RBI.
Noisy ripped the single his first time up. He'll look to continue the Harwich inning with 1 away and a runner in scoring position. Again, Riley Terada, plenty of speed over there at second base, so a ball in the gap should find a way to score him. And we'll see what Noisy's got in store here, a guy who's been tearing the cover off the ball over the course of the last 10 days. He stands in from the right side to face Daniel Harper for a second time today. Harper's already given up the 2 runs. Harper sets, checks the runner back to second, brings the first pitch home, and Noisy swings violently at that one and misses for strike 1.
He went up the ladder to chase that pitch, but he couldn't quite get a bat on it. And with 1 away in the inning, at least a fly ball will move another insurance run up 90 feet.
And it would do so for Chris Gallant. So we'll see whether or not that's the situation that happens here. Obviously, Noisy would love to get a hit as the 0-1 comes inside and misses to even the count at 1-1. Harwich has only had 3 guys not reach base, and 2 of them, or 1 of them anyway, resulted in an RBI for Hal Hughes. Here comes the 1-1. Noisy will swing on that one and take it down the line, down the right field line, and gets into the Brewster bullpen. So the count stays 1-2.
3 hits and a sacrifice bunt to lead off the inning for Harwich, and already 5 hits just one time through the lineup.
Yep, the Mariners have been seeing Daniel Harper exceptionally well. That's not a big surprise. Again, they've hit well off of him all year long, and just a really, really head-scratching move. Here's Harper, the 1-2. That'll miss low and away. Another breaking ball, and the count goes 2-2 here on Dylan Noisy.
Very interesting to see how long the leash is on Harper, if they're going to make it a bullpen kind of game relatively quickly, or if they're going to ride him out no matter what.
I can't imagine it would be that long, especially not in a game where the Brewster season is at stake, as Noisy rakes one into the center field. It's going to get down. The runner moves up to third, and once again it will be first and third for the Harwich Mariners as Noisy took a wide turn with the first baseman covering the play. He will head back to first base. So it's another single for Dylan Noisy, who's 2 for 2 today, and that's going to put runners at the corners here for Chris Galland with 1 away.
Well, the Mariners are clearly proving that that game against Harper was no fluke, that they really do see the ball well against this guy, and Harper's going to need a ground ball to get himself out of the inning, or else this could really snowball like it did in his first start.
Of course, the other advantage for Harwich, if they can come away with a victory today and bounce Brewster from playoff contention, they can rest their pitchers tomorrow. So a lot riding on this game here today, as they could be in a lot better shape come playoff time. All those guys would have a couple days to rest, including August 1st, where Harwich does not have a game. First pitch squaring to bunt is Chris Galland, and he will whiff that one for strike 1.
And Galland's had a quiet day so far. Combining both games, he is 0 for 5.
Yep, 0 for 5 a few days ago against Chatham. Or actually, that was yesterday against Chatham. He had a couple of hits, including the RBI triple, and he came around and almost scored an inside-the-park home run. So still a very capable bat for Chris Galland. Here comes the 0-1. That will miss. Wow. They're going to say that one catches the outer half, and the count is 0-2 here on Galland.
Yeah, this is an important out to get if you're Brewster, with the heart of the order looming in the on-deck circle.
Infield, of course, playing at double play depth right now with an 0-2 count on Galland, who will be swinging away. Here comes the pitch. Runner takes off. Galland crushes this one to deep left field. Franklin goes back. It doesn't matter. The second ball into the tree line today, this time for Chris Galland, and the Mariners lead 5-0.
I mean, that ball was gone the second it left the bat. There was no question about it. He just squared that one up perfectly. Franklin out and left didn't even bother turning around. And Chris Galland with a huge 3-run home run. All of a sudden, the Mariners jump way out in front. It's now 5-0.
Chris Galland delivers again, and just when he thought he had gone quiet, he drills a 3-run bomb. And here comes Coach Shevchuk to have a word with his pitcher. And I'm going to say this very plainly. In my opinion, Shevchuk, by throwing Harper out there, threw the season away for Brewster if this score holds. What are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure either. I mean, it would have made a lot more sense to even kind of treat it as a bullpen game, maybe get a couple of guys in there for 2 to 3 innings at a time. But Harper clearly has struggled against this Mariners team, and couple of home run balls served up in the second inning, and now all of a sudden the bullpen gets going. So we'll have to see how quickly they'll go to the pen. But as with the arm warming up in the bullpen right now, I believe it is Peyton Alford, the lefty, but he's not ready yet. So for now, it's just going to be Harper's game in the second.
And Harwich will take it, as they've scored 5 runs here in the second inning, a big lead. Again, the Whitecaps did come back from down 5 in the first game today against Chatham, but Harwich may not be done scoring runs yet as Daniel Cabrera fouls the first pitch he sees off, and the count is 0-1. Once again, I'd like to apologize for the technical issues we're having with our video stream, but again, we will provide the radio play-by-play for the remainder of this game, and then again tomorrow on the road at Brewster as this pitch misses outside for Daniel Harper. Count goes 1-1.
And the hope for the Mariners is that will be a kind of a relaxed game tomorrow at Stony Brook Field.
It certainly could be, as this next pitch is swung on and missed by Cabrera. Harper keeps it low and away.
But we know for sure that this game is far from over, given the fact that Brewster's come back from some ridiculous deficits this year, including earlier today they were down 5-0. They scored 8 unanswered runs to stun the Chatham A's.
The 1-2 pitch. That one's going to be chopped to second, picked up by Castanon, who will turn, throw to first in time for the second out of the inning. So here comes Chris Lanzilli, who got the fireworks started early today with a 3-home-run game. Him and Daniel Cabrera combined for 4 Harwich bombs throughout the first game, and well, he'll look to maybe do it again here, as so far he has not been retired in multiple games, just continuing to ride out this hitting streak, not so much over consecutive games, but over consecutive at-bats. Lanzilli stands in from the left side, the hottest hitter in the Harwich lineup with 2 away. First pitch, fastball low, and it'll miss for ball 1.
Yeah, Lanzilli ripped one out towards center field in his first at-bat.
Next pitch misses low. Count goes 2-0 here on Lanzilli.
Lanzilli, of course, one of 3 current members of that Wake Forest Stephen Deacon team, not including Bobby Seymour, the former Harwich Mariner, who spent the first 2 weeks of the season out here with the M's.
Lanzilli has not recorded an unproductive at bat in 17 at bats, and here he will miss, or he'll get another pitch out of the zone. So the count goes 3-0 here on Chris Lanzilli, who could extend it to 18 with a walk, and that may be the best option for Daniel Harper, who has already given up 5 runs. But again, it's going to bring up Nico Cavadas if he does, and he will. 4-pitch walk issued to Chris Lanzilli, and here comes Nico with 2 away in the inning and a runner on base.
Yeah, most of those pitches didn't miss by a whole lot, but I'm sure Harper was trying to nibble on the corners and not give Lanzilli anything to hit. But it doesn't get much easier now, as you got Nico Cavadas at the plate, and then guys who have gotten hits for the next 3 hitters, each of them got hits and came around to score earlier in the inning.
So Cavadas digs in, first pitch on its way to him, and that one will be in there on the outer half for strike 1. Nico struck out looking to end the first inning on a pitch that looked a little off the outside part of the black, but nonetheless, he stands back in here 0 for 1. Back in the first game of the day. Cavadas had an 0 for 3, so 0 for 4 here as he fouls one off his foot, and the count is 0-2.
Couple of home runs in the inning for Harwich, and at some point in the season, probably out in the early part of the season in June, some people would have found that hard to believe considering the lack of power that was shown in this lineup for most of the season.
Well, yeah, I mean, you had Nico Cavadas hitting all the home runs on the team for a while. I mean, there were several guys who had 1 home run, but nobody by the month of July had 2, with the exception of Nico. Here's the 0-2. Runner takes off. That'll be in the dirt. Throw down. It would have been in time, but it goes in and out of the glove of Gage Workman and off the leg of Chris Lanzilli, who will add another stolen base here to his total. And there's a runner in scoring position with a 1-2 count on Nico Cavadas.
Yeah, just the second steal of the season from Lanzilli, but he's playing with so much confidence at the plate, you might as well send him with 2 outs and try to see if you can get him in scoring position.
He's got a good mix of both speed and power. Cavadas stands in, and stepping off the rubber here is Daniel Harper. Harper letting the arm dangle in front of him as he comes to the set. From the bell, he'll check Lanzilli back to second. The pitch. And that'll be tipped back into the chest plate of the catcher Auerbach as Cavadas stays alive again.
Looks like Alford is ready and waiting, so if Harper can get out of the inning, I would be shocked if he goes back out there.
1-2 count, runner on second, Harwich leading it 5-0 here in the second inning. Harper sets the 1-2 pitch, and Cavadas will chop that one foul. So another pitch coming up here, now a 6-pitch at bat to Nico Cavadas, and the pitch count steadily rising here for Daniel Harper as well, although that probably doesn't matter, as we'd be shocked and appalled to see him back out. Well, shocked and excited, I should say, to see him back out there for another inning. Cavadas ready for yet another 1-2 pitch. Here it comes. And that'll miss outside, so the count evens here at 2-2.
Yeah, I think the worst part about this for the Whitecaps is not only are you going to be trailing 5-0, but you're going to be trailing 5-0 with Jacob Polish, one of the best pitchers in the entire CCBL this season, on the mound.
Deuce is wild. 2-2. Fouled off again, and Cavadas just continuing to fight off pitch after pitch. You wonder sooner or later if Harper might throw him something out of frustration and try to challenge him, as that one bounced off the helmet of Brett Auerbach. So here we are in the second inning. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs on number 1-2, Nico Cavadas. In his second at bat. Cavadas stands in, long look in from Daniel Harper, and now he'll come to the set. 2-2 pitch. Once again, fouled off of the catcher's mask. Brett Auerbach is taking a beating.
Yeah, and I'm sure Nico Cavadas giving a little bit of an apology there for just barely getting a piece of each of them to stay alive. But I'm telling you right now, if he squares up one of these pitches with that swing of his, it's going to be a 7-0 lead for Harwich in a moment.
It could be a 7-0 lead really quickly if Daniel Harper misses with a pitch here. He's ready for another 2-2 pitch, the 10th of the at-bat. Cavadas ropes that one, but foul. He really got a piece of that, but can't straighten it out. And Colin, the 11th pitch of an at-bat where the count is 2-2 coming up here.
Yeah, I'm sure it's been a really tough at-bat for Harper as he continues to just labor out there trying to get himself out of this inning.
Harper once again will deal a 2-2 pitch. Cavadas once again will rip it. This one's going to be closer, but still foul. Another ball that hooks, and Harper's got to be careful here. At this point, you can't really just walk Cavadas because you've got Acton. And the other thing is you still have another pitch to waste, but, I mean, 12 pitches into the at-bat. What else do you have left to throw?
I'm sorry, I think this is definitely the last at-bat for Harper because he's just really struggling to get anything past any Harwich Mariner hitter. And with a lefty on deck and a lefty waiting in the bullpen, it makes way too much sense to make the move after this plate appearance.
Cavadas has squared a few up already. So once again, it's 2 outs in the inning. It's Chris Lanzilli at second base. A 2-2 count on Cavadas. Here in the bottom of the second, the pitch. Cavadas will rake that one in the middle. That's going to get through for another hit. Lanzilli comes around to score, and it's an RBI single for Nico Cavadas. The Mariners are up 6-0.
And with that, the Mariners have completely batted around, so Corey Acton, who led off the inning with a solo home run on the very first pitch of the bottom of the second, will get another opportunity, but he won't get it against Daniel Harper.
And here comes Jamie Shevchuk. No surprise there. That will probably be the end of the outing here for Daniel Harper. We will step away, and when we come back, we will get you an update on the new pitcher here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey, a new pitcher coming into the game for the Brewster Whitecaps, and it's actually going to be an ex-Harwich Mariner coming into the game. Another guy that's been around the Cape for quite some time. It is Peyton Alford, who this year has a 4.88 ERA. He has allowed 23 hits, 13 runs, all of them earned, and has struck out 19 compared to just 12 walks. So a guy who struggled a bit with control here, but a lefty coming in, and again, it's going to be a tough day at the end of when all things are said and done for Daniel Harper, and we'll see whether or not Brewster has a couple of comebacks left in them.
Yeah, and for Peyton Alford, the job's just to get out of this inning and move on to the next one. I mean, it has been a complete torture for Brewster as Harwich has batted around and brought home now 6 runs in the inning. It has just been an absolute disaster for the Whitecaps. But again, just get out of the inning and try to get your bats back at the plate, give up some hope as Alford just fired one over the head of his catcher in warm-up. So if that's a harbinger of things to come, it might just get worse for Brewster.
Well, the inning's not over yet. There are 2 outs, but Corey Acton, who had a solo shot to lead off the second, is up there. And I'm going to be honest, too. After giving up the home run to Corey Acton, I don't know why you didn't immediately start having somebody else up and warming, because, again, this is a guy who had struggled against Harwich before, and they're not going to pull him until he gives up 6 runs with a potential 7th waiting on first base. So here comes Corey Acton, who, again, had his 3rd home run of the season to start off the inning, and he will get his 2nd at bat here in the 2nd coming up here. Acton stands in from the right side. He'll be the first man to face Peyton Alford. Runner at first is Nico Cavadas, who had the RBI single to score Chris Lanzilli from second. Long look in from Alford, first pitch, and that will miss high for ball 1, a fastball.
And this is probably the most welcome sign in the entire Harwich Mariners lineup, and that is Corey Acton really getting it going at the plate. I mean, this is a guy who really, really struggled in his first couple of weeks with the Mariners, but things really starting to change for the University of Florida Gator.
1-0 pitch misses inside. The one they call Gata. That's his nickname both from Coach Englert and everybody else on the team, a nickname that they've very affectionately referred to him as throughout the entire course of the season. Sometimes you can hear it shouted from the dugout when he's up to bat. So he's become a local favorite here at Harwich, and you can see why as the offense has really caught up over the last couple of weeks. Here comes the 2-0 pitch. That one's going to just narrowly get into the zone, so it's a 2-1 count here on Acton, who again has had 2 home runs, a triple, and 5 RBIs over the course of his last couple days. He has been absolutely killing it. The 2-1 pitch. Big sweeping hook. That'll miss outside, and well, at risk of walking his first hitter here is Peyton Alford. And that certainly wouldn't help his case here, as you don't want to go through the lineup again. Pat Winkle, Riley Tirada, and Hal Hughes, who all either scored an RBI or scored a run themselves, due up next. The 3-1. This is high and in, and he'll do just that, as Corey Acton will take his base for the first time here in the inning. The first time up, he got to go all the way around him with a solo shot, and here comes Pat Winkle, who is 1 for 1 with a base hit.
Yeah, it was a 7-run third inning that really broke the game open at Stony Brook Field the last time these two teams played. That made it 11-0 at the time. It was headlined by a 3-run shot by Nico Cavadas. So far this inning, 6 home, and the runner on second, Mariners have at least the opportunity to match that run total.
And I'll tell you what, if Harwich is going to hit home runs the way they have the last couple of weeks, this might be one of the best teams in the CCBL. They've still got the pitching, and the offense has been just absolutely on a roll the last couple of days. First pitch is on its way. It's spiked in the dirt. Good block by Brett Auerbach, and Pat Winkle will have a 1-0 count. It's really struggling to find the zone here is Peyton Alford.
Now, one interesting storyline that could develop is if this game continues to get blown open, how far will Jacob Polish pitch into this game?
That's a good question because, again, the long relievers pitched yesterday. It was Will Heflin and Nick Stewart, the team's 2 designated long relievers, as another pitch misses high for a ball. So really, when you look at the Harwich bullpen and you want to know who is available to pitch today, it's not as deep as you might think. You've got Joe Boyle out there, obviously. Cam Bauman came into the last game. Devin Ortiz pitched a few days ago. You got Blake Espinal. Really not a lot of options for the Mariners. They kind of need Polish to go at least relatively deep into this game as the 2-1 pitch, or 2-0 pitch is swung on and makes it a 2-1 count. But in the same word, there are 2 new guys, and they're both activated. They're both eligible to play. I don't know 100% sure whether or not they're here. But you do have Seth Lonsway, or no, sorry, not Seth Lonsway. You have John Teehan and Greg Tobin, 2 guys that were added to the roster this morning, who could potentially come in and eat up some innings. 2-2 count is swinging through another pitch here is Pat Winkle. Harwich has batted around the Orner 5 times this season, and 4 of them have come in the last 2 weeks.
2 of them against Brewster.
Here comes the 2-2. Big breaking ball, and oh boy, that one apparently just catches the outside half, and that will be called strike 3. So Winkle goes down to end the inning, but Harwich strikes for 6 and takes a massive lead into the 3rd inning of play. When we come back, it'll be Brewster trying to get it back here on the other side of the break on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
To the top of the third inning we go from White House Field as Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry giving you coverage of the Harwich Mariners as they look to clinch a playoff spot. And last inning, a huge one for the Mariners, led off by Corey Acton with a solo home run and headlined by a 3-run bomb by Chris Galland, allowed Harwich to score 6 times and give a huge lead for their ace, Jacob Polish.
Yep, and Polish will be back out again. You would love to see him go deep into this game if you can. The bullpens have been stretched a little bit thin, but this will be a big-time opportunity for Harwich to hold what is a 6-run lead. Again, the Whitecaps came back down 5-0 against Chatham earlier today. Do they have another wild comeback in them? We will find out, but just a 7-inning game here. Harwich has shortened up a little bit.
First pitch to Duke Ellis is over for a called strike one. Ellis, center fielder out of University of Texas, hitting .240 on the season. Just the 1 RBI. He actually started his season with the Catuit Kettleers. As it's a 1-1 count now to him. Pitch from Jacob Polish is a high pop-up left side of the infield, carrying out to the outfield grass. Chris Galland calls off Hal Hughes and makes a catch for an easy out number 1.
Yep, so as we go back to the top of the order, it's a good day here at the ballpark, and a ceremony earlier during the game to celebrate all of the host families that take care of these players throughout the summer, and also an awards ceremony for the 3 awards that Harwich gives out each year. The Fred Ebbets Unsung Hero Award was presented to bullpen catcher Donnie Gress. The Al Graber Pitching Award was presented to today's starter Jacob Polish, and the Marty McDonough MVP Award was presented to Nico Cavadas. So a good day for those 3, and as this pitch is fouled away, a lot of guys on this team that could have taken a number of those awards. Again, this is one of the best pitching staffs in the entire league, but certainly good to see a couple of those guys getting honored in a special way this morning.
Always great to see guys kind of rewarded for the hard work that they've done this season. And so it's an 0-1 count with the bases empty for Brett Auerbach, who grounded out to third in the first inning. Auerbach had a big home run in game number 1, but going to need a lot more than that to keep this game alive. And there's a good start as he rips one out into left field. Chris Galland will play it, and it's a 1-out single for Auerbach.
So the third hit of the day allowed by Jacob Polish, and so far the 3 guys who have singled have not reached beyond that. So here comes Jesse Franklin. There is certainly the threat here of a double play if Harwich can turn to, as the middle infielders will back up to be at double play depth.
The Harwich Mariners are 4-1 in starts by Jacob Polish. He's actually gotten a decision in all 5 of his games started. The one loss was a game in which he only gave up 2 earned runs over 6 innings, 3 total runs on 3 hits against the Orleans Firebirds. First pitch swinging is Jesse Franklin. It's a pop-up behind home plate, and Pat Winkle makes the catch for out number 2.
So once again, the threat of the base runner is going to be eliminated a little bit here, as 2 away for the inning makes it a simpler situation for Harwich, although this is the toughest part of the order coming up. Gage Workman, Tyler Gentry, and Tyler Hardman.
So here's Workman, who struck out looking in the first. Workman, one of many Arizona State Sun Devils that played shortstop for one Cape Cod team or another. Polish with a look at first. And his first pitch is swung on a miss for strike one.
And that's a nasty off-speed pitch there. Drops completely down below the bat of Workman, who was sitting on a fastball. And if that's what he got, to his credit, he probably would have driven it over the left field fence. But at the last second, that ball falls off the table. And he's got Workman eating out of his palm 0-1 here.
Workman hitting .264, 1 home run, 20 runs batted in, and he mashes one up the middle. That's going to be a 2-out single. So Brewster trying to make some noise and perhaps pick up their first run of the ball game as they have 2 on with 2 away, and Tyler Gentry coming to the plate.
Yep, and Gentry, another threat here for this squad. This is the first time they've had anybody in scoring position today.
Gentry grounded out to end that first inning with Jesse Franklin on first base at the time, but one swing of the bat could cut this lead in half. Polish looks in, glances over at second. He comes home. First pitch swinging and fouling the pitch straight back is Gentry.
And once again, Jacob Polish is going to get ahead of another hitter here as Tyler Gentry falling behind 0-1. So we'll see whether or not he can put him away. For as good as Polish has been today, just the one strikeout. So typically a little bit more aggressive, but pitching a bit more cautiously today and kind of painting it around the zone, pitching to contact.
Gentry with just 2 home runs this season, one of them coming against the Mariners. As the 0-1 is in the dirt, a nice stop behind the plate by Winkle.
One more quick final to pass your way. The Bourne Braves get a 14-6 win over the Wareham Gatemen. They continue to stay hot, and that could be interesting come playoff time.
See if they have anything to give the Falmouth Commodores, as that is their first round matchup. Those seeds cannot be changed at this time, so that's set in stone as 1-1 is fouled off to the right.
Yeah, and again, all 4 of those teams in the Western Division playoffs had clinched a spot before anybody in the East had. So before Chatham took over as the only team in the East to clinch a playoff spot, the Bourne Braves, who again come into this game today 18-23-1, had clinched a spot.
Got a record even worse than Brewster, but unfortunately for Brewster, they're not in the West this year. Long pause in the 1-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. You got the breaking ball down and in, and Gentry strikes out swinging, and that will end the inning. So through 2.5, Harwich still with a commanding 6-0 lead. You're watching, or listening, I should say, to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Six 0 Mariners as they look to pad their lead against the Brewster Whitecaps in the bottom of the 3rd inning, and they will do it once again against Peyton Alford, who had to come in and get the final out of inning number 2, a lengthy one in which the Mariners tallied for 6 runs.
Yep, and Harwich will be looking to expand on that lead, as you mentioned, with Riley Tirada, Hal Hughes, and Dylan Noisy coming to the plate. And so far, Colin, every single batter on this Harwich team has either reached base or driven in a run, and we're only in the 3rd inning. So it's been a very good day for the Mariners at the plate. 6 different M's have come across the score, or the Ners as they like to be called, and we'll see whether or not they can pad on here as Riley Tirada, who is 1 for 1 with a single and a run scored, will lead them off here in the 3rd.
Yeah, and the only man not to reach base was Hal Hughes, and that was because he laid down a sacrifice bunt that scored Pat Winkle, and at the time that was just run number 2 of the 6-run inning. So Riley Tirada, who singled and came around to score on Chris Gallen's 3-run home run, got an opportunity, and Tirada had been 0 for 7 with 2 runs scored on the season against the Brewster Whitecaps. However, none of those games coming as a member of the Harwich Mariners, as it's a ground ball to short. Workman fields it. Throw is in time, so Terada retired, 1 down.
Yeah, and that's really what Brewster's going to have to do here. If they're going to have any chance here, they're going to have to go through these innings quickly and get back to their offenses. More extended offensive innings for Harwich just buries them deeper and deeper. So a 1-2-3 inning would be big here for the Whitecaps as Hal Hughes comes to the plate. Hughes had the sac bunt back in the second inning that drove a run across as Pat Winkle came across to score.
That raised Hughes' RBI total to 6 on the year as first pitch he sees misses below the knees. Peyton Alford out of Virginia Tech as he gets Hughes to send a fly ball out towards right center field. And coming in to make the play is Tyler Gentry. So 2 quick outs to be in the bottom of the third for the Mariners.
Yep, and the Mariners go back to the top of the order with Dylan Noisy. A couple of scores to pass your way. The Falmouth Commodores in the 7th inning are up 6-4 on the Katuitt Cavaliers. The Hyannis Harborhawks lead the YD Red Sox in the bottom of the 7th, 1-0. And through 3 innings, still 0-0 between Chatham and Orleans. Another Eastern split doubleheader game going on tonight.
That YD game could have serious implications in terms of playoff seeding and towards the top of the East as Noisy takes a first pitch strike on the fastball.
And that's another interesting development that we kind of never updated you on, but with the victory over Harwich today, Orleans has officially clinched at least the 3 seed. So Harwich or Brewster guaranteed the 4 depending on the result of today's game. Which again means that they will likely play against one of those 3. Currently, they are all separated by just 2 points. It's anybody's game from here on in as to who would get that 1 seed.
It's an 0-2 count to Dylan Noisy. Alfred shakes off the sign, now comes set. The windup in the pitch is a breaking ball in the dirt, and that one caught Auerbach up high once again.
He's taken at least 6 different balls off the face today. He just can't catch a break, and that's tough, especially, I mean, as a catcher, it always hurts to get 1 of those. It sucks to get 2, but 6 different times.
So it's a 1-ball, 2-strike count as Noisy looking to at least protect here with 2 strikes, and it's been off to a good start, reaching base a couple of times via single in the first 2 innings. Another guy who's really picked it up over the last couple of weeks after a bit of a slow start with the Mariners, the 1-2. And that one is going to miss right at the ankles. So Noisy able to work the count back even as he looked to keep this 3rd inning alive. The 2-2. Hard hit grounder to short. Workman again. And his throw is off the bag. So that's going to be a throwing error on Gage Workman. And Brewster, a team that has really struggled in defense this year, committing now their 54th error, and they're actually going to give him a base hit on that one, it looks like.
No, it'll be...
No, it's actually going to be an error, so it's just a bit of a scoring miscalculation on that one. But, as I mentioned before, the 54th error of the season for Brewster came in with just a .962 fielding percentage. That is last in the CCBL. So Chris Galland, who hit a 3-run bomb in his last at-bat, will dig in his 3rd homer of the season, and he lays off a first pitch fastball high for ball 1.
And that snapped an 0 for 5, which really isn't that big of a thing for a guy like Chris Galland, who had been swinging as hot of a bat as he had seen. So a really big swing, and he takes 3 runs across home plate with 1 hit.
Pickoff moved to first. That raises his RBI total to now 16 on the year. As it's kind of turning a bit of a logjam as to who's in second behind Nico Cavadas as far as RBIs go on the team. Still Joey Weimer with 17 as fastball is in there to Galland.
Yep, and with a 1-1 count, we'll see whether or not he can get a pitch to drive here. As really, there's no good spot in the lineup anymore to pitch to. That's kind of how it was not at the beginning of the season for Harwich. It was the top 5 guys that were really good, and then the bottom 4 you could really afford to do whatever you wanted to, as this one is flying foul. But, I mean, right now, Colin, where's the safe spot in the lineup? There is none. Yeah,
and a quick correction, actually. It's Chris Lanzilli, who's right now second in RBIs. He's got 18 after the 4 RBI game today. My score sheet's still showing the RBI totals coming into today. So that puts Galland in third, or it puts Weimer in third at 17 and Galland in fourth at 16. So a lot of RBIs from that part of the order as the 1-2 comes in, and Galland hits this one out towards center field. This one's going to stay in the park. Hardly having to move is Duke Ellis out in center field. He makes the catch, and it's a scoreless third inning for Harwich. However, they still lead it 6-0 through 3 from White House Field. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Fourth inning from White House Field. Mariners lead it 6-0 over the Brewster Whitecaps as Stanford lefty Jacob Polish looks to continue to keep that impressive ERA that was .93 coming into today's game. And if he's able to keep the shutout going, that will certainly drop.
Yep, he's given up just 4 base runners today, all via singles, and nobody has gotten any further than second base. But he will lead off again, or leading off for another consecutive inning will be Tyler Hardman, who flew out to right his first time up. And again, this is kind of the unstoppable force against the immovable object, as Tyler Hardman, a guy who's been absolutely killing it this year. Interesting story about Jacob Polish. He was actually started the year this year, he told us himself, as the Saturday starter for the Stanford Cardinal, and kind of struggled early on in the year. He ended up switching with one of their bullpen guys and spent the rest of the year with the pen, but you wouldn't know it based on his performances this year. So he misses the first pitch outside to Tyler Hardman.
Yeah, the 20-year-old at Stanford having a tremendous start to his college career. He'll be entering his junior year. He turns 21 on August 19th as Hardman, the big swing, but all he can do is foul it off to the right. Hardman, an Oklahoma Sooner. The biggest power threat in the lineup. Well, one of them, I should say, along with his teammate TJ Collette, who is in the on-deck circle, as Hardman once again can only just foul the pitch back. Collette himself had a 2-home-run game against the Mariners, so Hardman, Collette both having those multi-homer games, and then you got Tyler Gentry, who had a home run against Harwich earlier in the year. So we've seen a lot of power from this team, as there's a fly ball out towards right field, but Daniel Cabrera is back to make the catch. So it's a couple of flyouts for Hardman, as he can't really get that opposite field power going, one away in the inning.
Apparently when Jesse Franklin got the single back in the first inning, the second hitter of the game, I guess Duke Ellis yelled, "Nobody no-hits the Caps." And I mean, good for them, I guess, but so far, they're on the bottom side of things, losing 6-0.
And as far as Jesse Franklin goes, that was actually just his second hit of the season against a left-handed pitcher. So it was a guy who had been struggling against lefties, but was able to get the game started positively for Brewster, but it's only gone downhill since then, as a breaking ball is in for strike one to TJ Collette.
Yep, Collette with an 0-1 count here, a guy who has plenty of pop in his bat.
And he hits one out towards center field. Heading back is Dylan Noisy, and he will make the catch just in front of the warning track in center field to make the catch. So a couple of loud outs, but 2 away in the inning.
Yep, we'll see whether or not Christian Malfetta can find a way to maybe improve upon what's been a pretty slow season for him, and a season that could be winding down very quickly here. Is the one thing with the Brewster Whitecaps, they do have 2 games left in the season, one with Harwich tomorrow, another with Bourne after that. Although at this point, even if they were to put themselves in a position where all they had to do to make the playoffs was beat Bourne, that could be a tougher task too, as Bourne has just been shredding teams over the course of the last 3 days.
First pitch is swung on and missed for strike one for Malfetta. Now, if Brewster were to come back and tie this game and the game would end in a tie, then Brewster would have to win out to make the playoffs. As the 0-1 is in the dirt. I believe also if they tied in that final game against Bourne, that would also qualify, because Brewster would then own the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Harwich Mariners.
Yep, but all of that is going to be subject to a potential 6-run comeback, which is something that Brewster has not done yet this year. Although, keep in mind, there is the big game as this pitch misses outside. There was an 11-0 lead that Harwich had over Brewster in a game at Stony Brook this year. So it's not like it's completely out of the question, but the way Polish has been pitching this year, you get the feeling it's very unlikely.
1-1 is waved at and missed for strike 2, and there's another good off-speed pitch from Polish. It seems like the off-speed has really been working as count actually 2-2.
Yep, off-speed low continues to work out well here against Christian Malfetta.
From the windup, now the 2-2 is in there for strike 3, and Malfetta goes down looking, so that is strikeout number 3 for Polish. A pretty low strikeout game so far, but nonetheless, it's 4 shutout innings for the Stanford lefty. We're through 3.5, halfway through this game, 6-0 Harwich the lead. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Mariners look to add to their 6-0 lead here in the bottom of the 4th inning. Colin Casey alongside Tyler Henry, and it will be the heart of the order due up, and they've done some pretty solid damage so far, but both of the home runs coming at either the top or the bottom of the order, so far, Tyler, some unsung heroes for the Mariners in this big game between them and the Brewster Whitecaps.
Yep, one of those home runs coming from Corey Acton down there in the 6th hole, so a couple of really good batters coming up for Harwich as it'll be Cabrera, Lanzilli, and Nico Cavadas due up, and Cabrera's reached base once today on a fielder's choice. Other than that, he has the ground out, but he made some noise back in the first game of today's doubleheader with a solo shot back in the 3rd inning against the Orleans Firebirds.
Peyton Alford on for what would be his 2nd full inning of work. He pitched a 3rd of that 2nd inning to get it to a 3rd as the first pitch breaking ball misses just above the letters to Cabrera, who is 0 for 2, the fielder's choice.
Yep, Cabrera's remained patient so far this year. Throughout this entire season, that's been kind of his forte, waiting on his pitch.
And he takes a fastball high in the strike zone, and Cabrera with 13 walks on the season, good enough for 3rd on the team. As currently, at least coming into today, it was a tie between Joey Weimer and Nico Cavadas for walks. I'm sure a lot of those walks, some of them might have been intentional to Weimer, or to actually both of them, honestly. They've drawn a couple of intentional walks as 2-0 is fouled off to the left.
Yep, we've seen a couple of guys that have been issued a free pass down to first, and a couple of other guys that have really just been pitched around as nobody wants to give a good pitch to hit to a guy like Nico Cavadas or now Chris Lanzilli.
2-1 is another breaking ball, and Auerbach unable to hang on to that one. It seems like he might be fatigued after playing the full 7 innings in Game 1. I believe he was in left field for that game, as it was a different starting catcher, at least, for Brewster, as 3-1 is hit down the left field line, but foul, and it was Justin Vogt who was the starting catcher out of the University of Maryland, and I believe he had a big RBI at some point during that game.
I'm completely kidding when I say this, but he's either fatigued or concussed after taking about 6 shots off the face mask in today's game.
Payoff pitches swung on and missed as Peyton Alford came inside on Cabrera, and he strikes out swinging, so leadoff man is gone to begin the bottom of the 4th.
Yep, and here comes Chris Lanzilli looking to make it 19 consecutive at-bats, reaching base or driving in a run, one or the other.
Lanzilli had the single in the first, walked, had a stolen base, and came around to score in the 2nd. on a Nico Cavadas RBI single. First pitch to Lanzilli is foul tip, but held onto for a strike. Lanzilli has been phenomenal this season against left-handed pitching, and this is his first at-bat against Southpaw in this game. 0-1 from Alford. And it looked like a changeup inside, which is an interesting pitch, but it caught Lanzilli off guard for strike 2.
Yeah, Lanzilli may be getting the off-speed treatment here, as I don't know how many more pitchers are going to be willing to throw him fastballs, but I mean, again, you get too predictable, it's going to be even a bigger disaster for the Brewster pitchers.
Breaking ball and a good job fouling it off as Christian Fedko with a barehanded play over in the dugout. The count remains 0-2.
Yep, showing off his defensive skill. We've seen it all season long, up and then he drops it, try to toss it from one hand to the other. So the transition not quite there, but the glove skill still perfectly intact.
From the windup, the 0-2 pitch from Alford is another breaking ball, sent another way, and Fedko makes another play.
He tosses it near the stands and waves his cap. So the two best defensive plays of the day have been made by Christian Fedko, who's not even starting in the field.
That has been the hot spot as Lanzilli fouls off back-to-back pitches there. Another 0-2 is chopped again to the left side. This one will be fair. Hardman makes the play. The throw is in time, so at long last, Chris Lanzilli has finally been retired for out number 2.
And I was going to say, finally it's right. That is going to break a stretch of 18 consecutive at-bats where he was able to either hit a sac fly or reach base. So here comes Nico Cavadas. Cavadas does have the one hit, an RBI single back in the second inning.
And the Mariners dugout giving Chris Lanzilli a round of applause because they knew that someone had finally gotten the Wake Forest Demon Deacon out. As first pitch to Cavadas is popped up towards the left side of the infield, Hardman gives it a look in foul territory, and he will make the catch. So Cavadas retired on one pitch, and the Mariners go down in order in the fourth. They, however, still lead it 6-0 over the Brewster Whitecaps. You're listening to Harwich Mariners Baseball on the Mariners Radio Network. To the fifth we go from White House Field as Jacob Polish is on for his fifth inning of work. And Tyler, it seems like there is no sign of the bullpen, at least for the time being. So we could very well see another complete game performance from Jacob Polish.
Well, the other nice thing about Jacob Polish, he came in a little bit later than usual. Stanford made a relatively deep run into the College World Series playoffs. So, you know, that's helped their cause here as Polish has been able to go deeper into games. And he's really been the seven-inning king, if you will. Harwich will not have another seven-inning game the rest of the way, but he had 2 complete game shutouts and a no-hitter. You can't ask for much more, and he may be asked to go most, if not all the way today with a 6-run lead.
And both of those complete game shutouts that he's thrown this year were technically home games, as you had the one right here at White House Field against Wareham on July 6th, and then another on July 24th. It was at Eldridge Park, but the Mariners were the home team for that game on the front end of a doubleheader. So technically he's pitched really well in home games, not necessarily home games at White House Field, though. So Marcus Caston on the 8-hitter lead things off. He is 0 for 1 with a flyout to Chris Galland.
Yeah, games that the history book will remember as home games far after we've all forgotten about the quote-unquote home game at Eldridge Park.
So Caston looking to spark something for this lifeless Brewster offense so far in this game as first pitch misses outside.
They've had a base runner through the first couple of innings. They have 4 hits in 4 innings, but haven't been able to get much more than that. They had 2 in the third, but couldn't bring anybody home.
That 1-0 catches the outside corner. I'm sure it's got to be tough going to the plate knowing that you're down in the game. I mean, this is the second time today, considering they had to battle back from a deficit and came from behind to win. As there's a line drive out towards right center field. That's going to get down for a base hit, so it's a leadoff single for Marcus Castanon, and that is the first time the leadoff man has reached base in this game for Brewster.
Yep, and the 5th hit of the day for the Brewster Whitecaps is Duke Ellis, who is without a hit himself, comes up here. We'll see whether or not Harwich can no-hit Duke Ellis.
Castanon with just the one steal on the season, so be pretty surprising to see him run, especially with the lefty Polish on the mound. Infield at double play depth with Ellis, who hit one the other way out towards Chris Galland to fly out to lead off the third. He swings at the first pitch and sends it straight back for strike one. Again, if the Mariners were to win this game and clinch their playoff spot, they would still have to wait and see exactly who they would play. It all depends kind of on what Orleans does against Chatham and what YD does as well, as the 0-1 is swung on a miss for strike two.
Yeah, the odds of YD getting the 1 seed are exceptionally low, with Orleans and Chatham both in a position to overtake YD. The problem is they don't have enough games left to play, as they have just one more to play tomorrow, and then their season is over. And at last check, the YD Red Sox still trailing in the top of the 9th to the Hyannis Harborhawks. So if that game goes final, they could potentially have their playoff seeding bounced at the mercy of a team that has won 7 games this year.
It would definitely be tough, especially with a lineup with that much offensive firepower.
Orleans is leading Chatham 3-0 in the 4th.
1-2 is fouled straight back off the press box. The lights actually flickered after that thing hit right above our windows.
Yeah, maybe just call the shingle experts and have them come patch that up, but I think we're good for the time being with a 1-2 count.
Casting on the runner at first, the 1-2. Breaking ball just misses outside, and a couple of groans from the Mariners dugout as they thought that was strike three. So Ellis gets another opportunity with a 2-2 count. And the 2-2 is chopped to first. Cavadas to second for one. Return throw is not going to be in time, as it looked like Polish. Yeah, Polish was the one covering first base. He kind of had his footing crossed up, but I think Ellis would have been there in time anyway, so it is scored as a fielder's choice, as there's one away in the inning.
And I don't know if Marcos Castanon fell down there or what the deal was, but he slid about 3/4 of the way to second base and looked a little shaky getting up.
Yeah, it looked like he just tried kind of getting out of the way of that throw, and he is limping off the field as he makes his way into the dugout. So the lineup card turns over, and Brett Auerbach will get an opportunity. He is 1 for 2. Auerbach from the University of Alabama. Came in today hitting .273 with 2 homers, 9 runs batted in. He added his third against the Chatham Anglers, and he will foul off the first pitch he sees. No runs on 5 hits so far, 1 error for the Whitecaps, 6 runs on 8 hits, no errors for Harwich. Auerbach digs back in, a quick snap throw over to first on Ellis. He's back to the bag in time.
It's been a long, grueling day of baseball for the Harwich Mariners, with the game in the baking sun earlier today and then an opportunity to maybe go get some food and stretch out a little bit before this game against the Brewster Whitecaps. But Harwich taking all their momentum forward, and as this pitch misses low inside, they just continue to stay hot offensively.
And at least the Mariners will have an off day after tomorrow on August 1st, where some other playoff teams will have to wrap up their schedule. Mariners coming out rather fortunate in that regard. The 1-1 fouled off to the right yet again. So it's a 1-2 count to Auerbach. The infield still at double play depth as they try to roll one with nobody out. They were able to get the lead runner in Marcus Castanon. Polish looks in. He comes set. A long pause, and he will throw over once again on Ellis. So Polish being extra precautionary, or extra precautious. I used the wrong tense of the verb there. That's not
Verb
even a
tense
verb,
is-
that's an adjective.
I was gonna
don't know
say-
what I'm doing right now.
Tense is very important, Colin.
And so is part of speech. The 1-2 is flared down the right field line, falling quickly, coming in and making the catch is Daniel Cabrera, as the LSU Tiger had to go a long way to make the play, but he snags it for out number 2.
So I know we have plenty of people that listen to the game while at the game. So for any of those that are here at White House Field as Jesse Franklin comes to the plate, I want to assure you that yes, we are aware of the lights being out on half the field, and yes, we do have an electrician working on it to try to get that restored as quickly as possible. So rest assured, we are trying to get that sorted out, and there's no need to contact anybody regarding the lights.
Yeah, and for those watching at home, it's the 3 lights on the left and the 3 lights on the right that are kind of separately powered as first pitch to Franklin is over for a strike, but all of those lights on the right side of the field just completely out. So Daniel Cabrera out there in right field standing in darkness. However, sun has not gone completely down just yet. The 0-1, low and outside.
Yeah, we lose the other half, and it's going to feel like a Stony Brook home game.
Yeah, I mean, I remember that game that ended up being canceled or discontinued towards the end when it was a 12-11 game. It got really dark really quickly there. A lot of that having to do with the storm clouds moving in the 12-11 victory for Harwich. As the 1-1 is hit pretty well out towards left center field, that's going to get down. Ellis is going to try for third. Throw from Gallen is cut off. The cut throw to second, and he is out. Jesse Franklin got a little over-anxious, and he tries getting to second, and he is cut down by Hal Hughes on the cutoff throw, and the inning is over. So Brewster unable to pick up their first run of the ball game. We are through 4.5, and the Harwich Mariners still lead 6-0. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Peyton Alford will head out for now his 3rd inning of work, as he has currently gone 2 1/3 innings. And they've all been scoreless, so he's done his job coming out of the pen. Unfortunately, the Brewster Whitecaps have not been able to put a dent in this 6-0 Harwich Mariners lead.
Again, I mean, my opinion, and this is whatever it's worth, I guess, but Coach Jamie Shevchuk threw the season away when he put Daniel Harper out on the mound. I mean, Harwich, again, completely will take it, but he put a guy out there who had given up 5 runs to Harwich and 8 hits the last time out. He had Mason Black available and good to pitch, and his words were, we're saving him for tomorrow. Well, guess what? Tomorrow may or may not matter, depending on the result of today's game, as Harwich could be throwing position players for all it could count, and they'd still make the playoffs and Brewster would miss. So again, Corey Acton will come to the plate here, trying to pad a few more runs onto the Harwich lead, and things looking very good for the M's here with just 9 more outs left to get.
Yeah, it was not,
Actually, just 6 more.
It was not a great start at all from Harper the last time these two teams played back at Stony Brook Field, as Corey Acton lead things off, but just 2 2/3 innings pitched and 9 earned runs on 10 hits. 9 earned runs on 9 hits, 10 runs total, as first pitch is a strike. Acton with the home run in the second, and then he came around to bat once again and drew a walk as the 0-1 misses. So Acton looking to continue to add to his July revival in terms of how much better he's gotten as the month has gone on.
It's been a July revival for a number of guys on this roster, and as this one swung on and missed, I think I'm going to compile all the stats tonight and kind of just get a total and complete update on what happened with that. Because, again, you look at a lot of these guys' numbers going into the final couple weeks of the season and what they've done recently, it's really been insane.
Definitely something to look forward to should the Mariners hang on tonight and clinch their playoff spot as breaking ball misses in the dirt for 2-2. As the lights slowly but surely come back on, as they, out of the 3 different stanchions that were out, 2 of them are back on, and the third one starting to power back on out in right center field as 2-2 will miss above the letters.
Nothing has shined as bright as the Harwich offense today, as they racked up 6 runs in just 1 inning, and so far that has been the difference maker here between these two.
3-2 is fouled off as Acton chased that one high but was able to get a piece of it.
Meanwhile, Brewster's bats are experiencing a major power outage. They've been able to get a couple of hits, but haven't been able to bring anybody across to score. So we'll see whether or not they have something to answer Harwich back with. But the best part of the order coming up to do it in the 6th inning, it'll be Gage Workman, Tyler Gentry, and Tyler Hardman for the Whitecaps.
3-2 is swung on and missed, so Acton is retired for the first time in this game, and that will be out number 1 at the bottom of the 5th.
And here comes Pat Winkle, who's 1 for 2 today, a strikeout and a single. Of course, came around to score a run back in the 2nd inning, and he may not be done with his tear yet.
Winkle has really started to pick his bat up as well over the last couple of games. You really could just say that for about anyone towards the bottom of the order. It seems like the depth in this lineup is really being put on full display over the last few weeks as breaking ball bends into the strike zone for strike 1.
Quick update, nobody warming in the Harwich bullpen right now, so it looks like it will be Polishes for at least the 6th, if not the 7th.
We'll have to see if he can finish off what he started. The breaking ball from Alford misses, so it's an even count now. Infield playing straight up on Winkle. Seen a couple of teams give him a bit of a shift towards the right side as 3 straight breaking balls to start off Pat Winkle, and that'll make the count now 2-1. It was the big 6-run inning, the bottom of the 2nd, that gave the Mariners their lead as it looks now. Couldn't quite get the extra point. So it's a 2-2 count to the freshman out of UConn, the youngest player on the Harwich Mariners roster. Winkle drafted out of high school by the New York Yankees. 2-2 is swung on a missed, strike 3. That was the same pitch that Acton chased, a fastball at shoulder level, and it's back-to-back strikeouts to begin the bottom of the 5th for Peyton Alford.
Yeah, Alford still hasn't allowed a single run to come across the score. He's actually not allowed a single hit. Just 1 runner who reached on an error and another who he walked. So he's been looking really good so far, but it hasn't really mattered as, again, the damage done by the Mariners early.
So definitely he's done his job, but again, it could be too little too late if the bats can't get going for the Whitecaps. First pitch to the right-hander, Riley Terada, misses outside. Terada, the former YD Red Sox player, was a bench third baseman for them, a backup, as the 1-0 is on the outside corner for a strike, but he's kind of found himself in a rotational role over at third base with Tyler Keenan being sent home due to injury.
Yep, and Terada, a guy that has really helped step up and fill that hole that you mentioned.
1-1 is just outside.
Other thing with Riley Terada, he was a guy that kind of when we got the scouting report on him from YD, they said, he has the potential to be a really good hitter. He just hasn't been with YD so far, and since coming to Harwich, he's really turned things around.
Just provide quite the spark in that 8-9 hole in the lineup wherever Coach Englert has put him, and there's another strike 2 into the count as Alford looks to strike out the side.
It's been a really good outing for Alfred so far. In addition to not giving up a single hit, he's had 4 strikeouts so far.
Alfred had given up 13 earned runs in 24 innings coming into this outing. 19 strikeouts to just 12 walks, and tried picking up another K, but that one's just off the plate, 3-2. Playoffs are set to begin August 2nd is when the first round will start, each round being a 3-game series. First team to win 2 advances. Payoff pitch comes in and it glances off of Riley Terrada's knee, so that's going to be a hit by pitch. It looked like that certainly hit him, yeah. And the umpire, I think, late kind of calling time. That ball certainly looked like it hit off his left knee.
Yeah, it definitely redirected after it came inside. It was not a clean pick there for Brett Auerbach. Not a lot he could have done about that, so that will be another base runner here, and not via a hit for the Harwich Mariners off Peyton Alford.
Yeah, that pitch was so far inside that it didn't really matter because it would have been ball 4 anyways. So here's Hughes. It's 0 for 1 with a sacrifice bunt and an RBI in the second, and a fly out in the third. Terrada's going. The first pitch misses high. The throw down, the slide, and Terrada's in there safely as trying to drop down that tag over at second was Castanon, but he couldn't quite get it in time, and Riley Terrada steals second.
And I mean, I'll tell you what, if he did get hit, it doesn't seem to be affecting him all that much as he is able to swipe a bag and put himself in scoring position. So Harwich could potentially have another run and driven in here. Hal Hughes already laid down a sac bunt and drove 1 across back in the second inning.
Second steal with the Harwich Mariners for Terrada on the year. And the 1-0 misses inside to Hughes.
Top of the order looming, Dylan Noisy, Chris Galland, and Daniel Cabrera due up next for the Harwich Mariners. So if they can find a way to extend this inning, it could turn into another monster inning for the Emps.
No one warming yet for Brewster, and same goes for the Mariners. Bullpen's currently empty. The 2-0 is ground ball, slowly hit towards short. Workman unable to make the play. It would have been a really tough play, and he is going to be credited with his second error of the ball game.
And I don't really know what's gotten into Gage Workman. At that time, he had a pretty straightforward play. He tried to backhand it at the last possible second. It kind of just skipped off of his glove. So a really weird play for typically a pretty solid defensive shortstop. And that's going to keep the inning going here for Dylan Noisy, who has reached base in all 3 of his at-bats. A pair of singles and an error back in the third inning have made him 2 for 3, or 2 for 2.
Yeah, it was a really awkward angle he kind of took on that ball. And as you mentioned, last second he kind of changed it to a backhand, and all it really did was just handcuff him even further, and with Hughes running down the line, he was unable to make the play. So Alfred looking to get out of the inning, and what's his first real adversity since coming into the ball game. So here's Noisy, who's reached base in all 3 of his at-bats, and he swings and rips one foul down the right field line.
This may or may not mean anything, but Joe Boyle is standing up over there in the Harwich bullpen. Not stretching, not throwing, but he could potentially be brought in. If it comes down to his 7th inning, that's a little bit tighter than Harwich feels comfortable pitching Polish.
2 outs in the inning and no one even close to warmed up. It's clear that Polish will at least start the top of the 6th inning as a very slow changeup, it looked like, from Alford, and that came in so slow that it really fooled Dylan Noisy, and he falls behind 0-2.
Yeah, Alfred may be working on one of those patented Zach Greinke eephus pitches. Took everything off of that one, and I bet Noisy would love to see another one of those if he knows it's coming. We'll see what he has in store for him with an 0-2 count.
Runners at the corners, the pitch, and it's fastball outside.
Good chance here for Harwich to tack another run on with 2 outs. It's not the end of the world if they can't, but you'd certainly love to see a few more come across for the M's here in the inning.
Terrada standing on third, Hughes on first. Neither of them reaching via a hit as Alfred has not surrendered a hit so far in his outing, the 1-2. Runner going, and it's going to miss low, so Hal Hughes will easily take second on defensive indifference. So now 2 runners in scoring position for Harwich, where a single from Dylan Noisy would pad this lead further.
Yeah, this could really be a dagger coming up for Noisy if he could find a way to put something in a position where Harwich could score 2.
Long look in from Alford, and Noisy is granted time.
Really quickly, the game out in Hyannis has gone final. The Harbor Hawks get the win over the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox by a final score of 1-0, bringing Hyannis' win total to 8-32-3.
2-2 is a breaking ball fouled off in. Just a season to forget for the Harbor Hawks, but the great thing about the Cape Cod Baseball League is there's always next year, and I'm sure it'll be a much different roster coming into next year for the Hyannis Harbor Hawks.
Unfortunately, they do not get the top draft pick.
Yeah.
Of course, there is no draft in the Cape Cod Baseball League. It's all about recruiting, and it's kind of tough to recruit to a team after they go a bad season like this. So they'll have a lot of work to do in the front office to ensure themselves a better 2020 campaign.
Another 2-2 is hit out towards center field. Ellis coming in, takes about 10 steps in, makes the catch going to his left to end the inning. So the Mariners get a couple of guys on the corners, but can't do anything with it. No matter, they still lead 6-0 after 5 and are 2 innings away from clinching a playoff spot. You're listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network.
Welcome back to Cape Cod baseball action here from White House Field. Tyler Henry alongside Colin Casey as we go here to the 6th inning of play. The Brewster Whitecaps season rests on these next 6 outs, as if Harwich can find a way to retire 6 more guys, they will lock up a playoff spot, and it will be Brewster who is left out in the cold wondering what happened. Due up for the Whitecaps will be Gage Workman, Tyler Gentry, and Tyler Hardman, who so far today, Colin, have not looked that great, going just 1 for 5.
Yeah, they certainly haven't, and this game's kind of just an entire symbol that characterizes the last few weeks for Brewster. They have had so many opportunities to catch the Mariners in some games where, Harwich would go on a 2-3 game losing streak and Brewster would just match it with a 2-3 game losing streak of their own. So they've had their chances, and now they're about to blow their last one.
And let's not forget, they had the lead on Harwich for a very long time, too. They had time to put some distance between themselves and the Mariners as Harwich kind of floundered for a number of weeks, but they kept losing games and kept themselves pinned in the basement with the Mariners, and now Harwich has made them pay for it as Jacob Polish's first pitch will miss low. Polish, of course, coming out for his 6th inning of work. So far, it's looked exceptional, allowing just 5 hits. This pitch is going to be swung on and missed, and the count goes 1-1. And so far, nobody has reached past second base, Colin. He's held everybody to very limited action.
It's been a really tough game offensively for Brewster. It seems like they used all their firepower in that first game against Chatham.
So Workman will watch this next pitch in there for a strike. Count goes 1-2 here as Jacob Polish looking to get another clean inning.
I think this is further proof that Polish is one of the better lefties in the entire CCBL, because this is a team that usually does well against lefties, and they have no answer for him.
1-2 will be fouled away by Workman. He will see another pitch here, but yeah, Polish has really looked, more or less like his usual self. We haven't seen, quote-unquote, a bad Polish outing, as one loss came in a game against the Orleans Firebirds in which he didn't really give up all the runs that came across to score. He gave a few of them, but Harwich didn't give him a lot of run support.
I went 6 innings, gave up 2 earned runs. That's still a quality start.
Certainly is. So here looking for another out as he comes from the windup. The lefty kicks and deals, and spoiling another pitch here is Gage Workman.
So with Polish going today, and not entirely sure how much further he's going, but obviously I'll render him unavailable at least early in a potential playoff series. But it looks like this would set him up to pitch in a potential decisive Game 3 in a first-round matchup.
Or even better, if it comes down to it, the first game of a second-round matchup if Harwich can get a 2-game sweep. But all that relies on them winning today, and they do still have to hold this 6-run lead as this pitch misses outside and makes the count 2-2 on Workman. Brewster again here down to their final 6 outs. Gage Workman at the plate. Here comes the 2-2 pitch, and this one will be popped in, maybe playable for Winkle, who comes over to the fence, and this will drop out of play. So the count stays 2-2 on Gage Workman. For Harwich, a big inning coming up here as they'll have another opportunity to potentially pad a few more runs on, but as we've mentioned a number of times through this broadcast, as this is a split doubleheader, the game will end after 7 innings one way or another. Still a 2-2 count. Gage Workman at the dish. Here comes the pitch. Swung on and ripped right into the glove of Riley Terada at third. A hard line drive, but in the perfect spot, and that is away for out number 1.
Yeah, it's just been a real rough day for Workman, as he did pick up a single in his last at-bat, but you mentioned the 2 errors earlier in the game for Gage Workman, and this time he can't do much more than square that ball up like that, only to have it caught by Riley Terada. A nice lunging play, as he had to kind of take a couple of quick steps over to his left to make that play.
So here's Tyler Gentry, who is 0 for 2, a strikeout and a ground out. First pitch he sees is a breaking ball in there for a strike, as it'll be a front door curveball issued by Jacob Polish. Polish ready to go with the 0-1 pitch. Here it comes, fastball that's fouled away, and a lot of guys have fouled off pitches, but it's just kind of buried them today, Colin, as Polish is really doing a good job of working ahead.
Yeah, despite making him throw a lot of pitches, the great thing about Jacob Polish is he doesn't really have a lot of non-quality strikes. Anytime he throws a strike, it's usually in a great part of the zone that's tough to hit.
0-2 misses in the dirt, trying to get Tyler Gentry to break into the golf bag, find the 9-iron, and take a swipe, but he does not, and the count stays at 1-2.
Joe Boyle is tossing out in the Mariners' bullpen.
So certainly the capability, again, that we might see him come in regardless of the situation. And again, that may be almost as much to save Polish's arm as it is to secure the win. The 1-2 pitch, swing and a miss, strike 3. Jacob Polish with his 6th strikeout of the day. And that's going to be the second out of the inning as Tyler Hardman strides to the plate.
Yeah, another nice pitch from Polish going low in the strike zone, and Gentry chases after. That's the one thing with this Brewster lineup is they do have a lot of power, but they do lack in discipline, and that's kind of been their Achilles heel all season long.
So after starting his career against the Harwich Mariners, 6 for 8 with 4 home runs and 7 RBIs, Tyler Hardman, who is 0 for 2 today, comes to the plate. The first pitch he sees is another front door curveball that just narrowly misses for ball 1.
And another idea on bringing Boyle into this game is A, to keep him kind of engaged. You don't want him to rest too long before the playoffs, and B, to build some confidence because he's had a couple of shaky outings over his last 2 appearances.
The 1-2 is skied high into the right field. It's going to track and drop down the line. So that ball rolls about halfway between the right fielder Daniel Cabrera and Nico Cavadas, who chased it out from first, and it'll be a bloop single for Tyler Hardman to keep the 6th inning alive here for the Caps.
Yeah, just a jam shot that falls in there. The Mariners have kind of gotten lucky a couple of times on those, but today they've been unlucky on those types of plays, as Daniel Cabrera had misplayed one, and it resulted in that inning getting really out of hand against the Orleans Firebirds this afternoon. But this time, despite that ball dropping, it's nothing to panic about just yet, with them still having that 6-run lead, and it looks like Coach Neuenberger's going to go out and talk with his pitcher.
Yeah, Berger wants to have a word with Polish, and this is probably about how to approach TJ Collette, a guy with a lot of potential, a lot of power potential as well, as on the season he has been shredding opposing pitching as well, hitting down in the 6 hole today. So with Collette at the plate, a runner on first, and a 6-run lead, nothing to be too concerned about, but definitely want to be cautious with how you approach this next hitter.
Yeah, it's just the pitcher and catcher out there. No need to bring in the entire infield. I'm sure there's just going to be a quick conversation and just kind of something to motivate Polish. He's in line for the win regardless, but I'm sure he'd love to make it through this 5th inning, or through the 6th inning rather, and have it be in full 6th inning shutout, or 6 shutout innings for the Stanford lefty.
And Colin, if he does, it's worth noting, he would have thrown 3 7-inning games, 20 scoreless innings.
That's
unheard
impressive
of.
Number. Very impressive.
I mean, that's just unheard of across any level of baseball. I don't care if you're a dominant pitcher in a little league. Not many guys go 20 consecutive innings without conceding a run, but he's got one more out to get. Tyler Hardman standing on first and TJ Collette at the dish. Here comes the pitch, and he will foul this one back to his own dugout, so the count goes 0-1 here on Collette.
Yeah, that kind of quality starts against these really tough lineups will definitely open the eyes of a ton of scouts when they're looking at Jacob Polish.
The big lefty standing in might also open the eyes of his coach, who, again, he was moved to the bullpen after struggling during his sophomore year at Stanford, but really bounced back at the end of the season out of the bullpen, and he's looked exceptional as a starter here for Harwich during the 2019 summer campaign. The 0-1 to Collette. Swing and a miss, and TJ Collette finds himself behind as he's out ahead of a fastball.
Collette had a late game home run. I think it actually brought the game to 1 in the 12-11 game that he had hit. But other than that, since that 2 home run game, he's been kind of quiet against the Mariners.
So we'll see if they can put him away. Polish is 0-2. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Took him low and away, and that ends the 6th inning. So Harwich is just 3 outs away from securing a playoff spot. But first, they will try to pad a few more runs onto their 6-run lead when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners Radio Network. Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey as we go to the home half of the 6th. Harwich with one more opportunity to maybe add a few more runs to their 6-run lead, but it'll be a good part of the order here for the Mariners. Chris Gallen, who already has a 3-run home run today, Daniel Cabrera, who's reached base once, and Chris Lanzilli, who finally snapped what was an 18 consecutive at-bat streak without being officially recorded on an out. So a couple more guys coming up here for Harwich to maybe try to put a little dazzle on top of the win, potentially. They still have to get 3 more outs.
Yeah, it would be really great if they can get those insurance runs and make things even more comfortable for whoever goes out for that 7th inning. It looks like it's probably going to be Joe Boyle. And we know Boyle has had a couple of shaky outings, but nothing that would be shaky enough to blow a 6-run lead. But regardless, better to be safe than sorry.
So here comes Chris Gallen. Gallen today is 1 for 3, but the one was a big one, a 3-run home run back in the 2nd inning that at the time gave the Harwich Mariners a 4-0 lead. Harwich struck for 6 back in that 2nd inning. They have not scored since then, but haven't really needed to as the Brewster Whitecaps offense has gone relatively quiet. First pitch to Gallen, he's swinging and he'll foul this one away. Count starts off 0-1.
And with a win, the Mariners would get themselves back to 500 at 21-21-1. They've been flirting with that number in and out, and that would leave them with just the 1 game left to maybe get over the hump.
0-1 pitch is ripped up the left side, and it gets in between the third baseman and shortstop for another Chris Gallen single. The Mariners may not be done scoring runs yet.
And the ball continues to jump off of Chris Gallen's bat. Didn't have the launch angle that he had on the home run, but I'm sure that ball was hit equally as hard as it just flew between Hardman and Workman into left field, and leadoff man's on for the Mariners in the bottom of the 6th.
So here comes Daniel Cabrera, who today is 0 for 3, reached on a fielder's choice in the 1st inning, aside from that 0 for 2 with a ground out and a strikeout. Runner on first is Chris Gallen. Nobody out in the inning, and another inning of work coming up here for Peyton Alford. And again, Colin Alford's looked awfully good today. You wonder why he wasn't the one who got the start for the Whitecaps as he delivers a first pitch strike in there to Daniel Cabrera.
Cabrera, of course, looking to continue the season that he's had, but not exactly the best game he's had, and that's kind of gone true against Brewster all season long. Just 2 for 7 on him coming into the game, and you can stretch that out now to a 2 for 10.
Quick pickoff move to keep the runner close at first. Not an overly large lead for Chris Gallen, although he does lead the Harwich Mariners in stolen bases this year. Now he's got a pretty good-sized lead, and a pitch that skipped in the dirt. It's blocked by Brett Auerbach, and the count goes 1-1.
I'm sure everyone out there on the field, has gotten kind of exhausted after having to play all this baseball in this hot weather, but for the Mariners, all it is just 3 more outs after these at-bats, and they can kind of find themselves in a position where they'll have a day off in the near future.
Gallen takes off, ball smacked into left. It's going to get down, so another base hit here in the inning as Daniel Cabrera gets his first hit of the day, and that'll put runners at first and second here for Chris Lanzilli.
Yeah, dangerous spot to be in if you are a Brewster Whitecaps pitcher. In this case, you wonder if Alford might be running out of gas here. They've asked him to go almost 4 innings now after the weak start from Daniel Harper. So tough situation for Alfred, but if you can get a double play ball and Lanzilli, you might be able to get out of this inning unscathed.
There is somebody warming up in the Brewster bullpen, so we'll see whether or not they do need the services of the man warming up. But for the time being, it's Alfred's game. Runners at first and second, nobody out, and Chris Lanzilli up at the plate. Here comes the 1-1 pitch. Big swing at another ball. This time it's not taken off the helmet of Auerbach, but rather the home plate umpire, Tim Carey, who gets his mask knocked off, but he appears to be okay and just a little shaken up as the Harwich trainer comes out to have a word with him.
Seems like he's okay, as it was a relatively quick discussion, and play is going to resume.
So back to baseball, a 1-1 count here coming up on Chris Lanzilli. Pressure's off Lanzilli to continue reaching in consecutive at-bats, although his hot streak may very well not be done yet. He is ready for the 1-1. And here it comes. That'll miss low and in, and the count goes to 2-1.
Appears it's Carson Coleman warming up in the pen, the right-hander, as he's kind of a just-in-case situation. The University of Kentucky reliever has a 6.75 ERA on the season, and we'll have to see if his services will be needed. But for the time being, it's Alfred's game, and he'll try to keep the lead at 6.
2-1 pitch. That'll miss high, and the count goes 3-1 here. So a good situation for Harwich to try to tack a few more on here, and still nobody out. And a 3-1 count on the hottest guy in the Harwich lineup.
Of course, you don't want to load the bases for Nico Cavadas waiting the on-deck circle.
It's an even riskier proposition for a Brewster Whitecaps team that's already flirted with giving Harwich insurance runs over the last couple innings. 3-1. That'll be fouled off of Lanzilli, and the count will be worked full here. Peyton Alfred's still a few outs away from getting out of this inning without any more damage done. But again, the damage was done in the Harwich Mariners' half of the second, where they scored 6 unanswered runs.
Tyler, I'm sure it's going to be really interesting to find out who would be the starting pitcher for tomorrow if the Mariners are able to get the job done here tonight.
My guess would be one of the new guys. I mean, it seems like it'd be the perfect situation to get them into a game and have them eat up some innings for Harwich throughout 9. So we'll see whether or not that's what they do. But here comes the payoff pitch to Lanzilli, who fouls it off, and we'll do it again.
Definitely going to be a unique situation with, well, it could be, I guess, a unique situation. This game certainly still not over yet. We've seen some crazy late-inning comebacks, but the Mariners, with 2 on and nobody out in the bottom of the 6th inning, have an opportunity to really blow this game open.
And we'll see whether or not they do, as Lanzilli will face another 3-2 count. Coming set is Alfred. Checks the runner back to second, brings the pitch home. And that'll miss in the dirt. Runner takes off for third. It's Galland. It's going to be a good throw, and it's going to be not in time. Galland moves up, and it's going to put runners at the corners here. Another insurance run 90 feet away with nobody out.
Yeah, good aggressive base running, even though they're just up 6 runs. It's Chris Galland being Chris Galland, always taking off no matter what.
And really quickly, apparently the scoreboard off, so that's my mistake, as the count is now 3-2. Thought it was a full count before. That's what was up on the board, but it's full count now, and Chris Lanzilli, runners at the corners, nobody out. The payoff pitch. Fouled away once again. Lanzilli staying in there, and that's another thing, too. We saw him strike out an awful lot throughout the entire month of June, and lately he's been at least putting the bat on the ball and making these at-bats last longer and longer.
And that's a huge part of being a quality hitter at the plate, honestly, is just being able to fight off the tough pitches and wait for your pitch, and that is a big reason why Lanzilli's been tougher and tougher to pitch to.
So Lanzilli, once again, will look at a full count pitch, a throw over to first to try to keep Daniel Cabrera close. You get the feeling with all the speed he has, they could very well have him take off for second here with a runner at third.
You have to wonder how big they'll be in terms of aggression with this 6-run lead, if they're going to play it aggressive or maybe a little more conservative.
Another payoff to Lanzilli. This will miss inside for ball 4, and the bases are loaded for Nico Cavadas with nobody out here in the 6th.
Yeah, definitely not the ideal scenario for Brewster. I mean, things just kind of going from bad to worse. I'm sure fatigue being a huge factor, as we're going to get a mound visit, and you wonder if this is going to be the end for Peyton Alford, but if it is, a very respectable effort out of the bullpen for the lefty.
He did everything that was asked out of him, and again, he probably should have been the starter today, but they elect to throw Daniel Harper, and let's recap you on how his third inning went. It was a solo shot to Corey Acton to lead things off. Then Pat Winkle with a single. Riley Tirada with a single. Hal Hughes with a sac bunt that would score Pat Winkle, who moved up to third on the hit. Then Dylan Noisy had an RBI single to bring Riley Tirada in to score. Chris Gallant hit a 3-run home run. Daniel Cabrera grounded out. Chris Lanzilli walked. Nico Cavadas had an RBI hit. And then Corey Acton was walked his second at bat, and Pat Winkle struck out to end the inning. It is the end of the day for Peyton Alfred. We will take a break. When we come back, we'll get you up to date on who the new pitcher into the game is for the Brewster Whitecaps here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network. New pitcher into the game for the Brewster Whitecaps will be Carson Coleman out of the University of Kentucky. And Colin, not the ideal situation for Coleman to be brought in here, but he's going to be tasked with trying to stop the bleeding and somehow get out of this inning with limited damage done.
Well, now Coleman knows how Peyton Alford felt when he entered the ball game. I mean, it was definitely not an ideal situation for him coming in trailing at the time 6-0, but he got out of the inning, so we'll see if Coleman can do the same with a 6.75 ERA on the season, just his sixth game. He's only pitched 4 innings, and he's given up 3 earned in those 4 innings while striking out 6. He walked 3, and he's allowed 4 hits. So an opportunity here, not really the ideal situation for the Brewster Whitecaps, but Nico Cavadas will come up, and let's see if they can at least get a double play and trade a run for 2 outs.
And how about this? They're going to bring in a righty to face Nico Cavadas. So it's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see if it pays off for him as Cavadas strides to the plate. So far, Nico on the day is 1 for 3, a base hit that resulted in an RBI back in the second inning. Other than that, a strikeout and a flyout. In the first game, it was 0 for 3 for Nico, so a quiet day for him, but the kind of guy who can break out of that with one swing of the bat. And the first pitch from Coleman misses up and well out of the zone.
Yeah, Cavadas looking to make it double digits. He's been stuck at 9 for quite some time now in the home run department.
1-0 pitch, swung on and missed. Really quickly, only one other game going on in the entire CCBL, and that's between the Orleans Firebirds and Chatham Anglers. It's 3-0 Orleans. Going into the, I believe, top of the 7th. As the next pitch to Nico will miss. Count goes 3-1 here on the ever-dangerous Cavadas. That's actually 4-0 Firebirds. Top of the 7th. So Chatham down to their final few outs, and they're at risk of losing 4 straight here.
And not exactly what we want to do heading into the playoffs.
2-1, or swung on and missed by Cavadas. Count goes 2-2, and we heard it through the grapevine that there were a number of players on that Chatham team that kind of just didn't want to be there, and so Coach Tom Holliday said, well, if you don't want to be here, then head on home. So they'll be light on the roster, and so far since cutting those guys, they have not looked very good. The 2-2 to Cavadas is swung on and missed, tipped back into the glove, and that will be the end of his at-bat here as Corey Acton will come to the dish for a 4th time today.
And I agree with that philosophy for manager Tom Holliday, and that's, if you don't want to be here, there's no reason you should be here. I'm sure there's plenty of guys that are sitting on that bench that are more than willing to take that spot. I mean, it's an absolute privilege to play in this league, and especially when you're in a situation like Chatham where you're one of the top 2 teams in the East, you got a great chance at maybe making a run for a Cape Cod Baseball League championship.
Yep, and certainly, I mean, everybody on this Harwich team wants to be here. We know that for a fact as the first pitch misses high to Corey Acton. This is a team that they're having an absolute blast. You could see it the last couple of weeks, even though it was a grueling schedule, even though they had consecutive games, even though it wasn't always going well for them. I mean, this is a team that is just really enjoying their time here on the Cape as the 1-0 will miss outside to Corey Acton for ball 2.
And that positive energy is really starting to reflect in the way that they've played over the last couple of weeks. You're starting to see more and more offense. You're starting to see the pitching become more and more dominant, like the start we saw from Jacob Polish. So positive attitude equals positive results for the Mariners.
2-0 pitch is on its way. That is going to be in there for strike 1, and the count goes 2-1 here on Corey Acton, who, again, has been just producing runs left and right for Harwich, whether he's scoring them himself or driving them in. He is the kind of guy you want at the plate right now with the kind of hot bat he's been swinging. 2-1 pitch. Fouled off the mask of Brett Auerbach. Colin, I've been calling baseball games for about 3 years now. I've never seen a catcher take as many shots to the head today as what Auerbach has taken.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of, I remember back in the 2013 ALCS, Alex Avila was starting catcher for the Detroit Tigers, and he took what seemed like 8 million foul balls off of his mask. It was insane. This is what I kind of compare that to.
Sure, it felt like that to him as Acton will swing through that one for strike 3, tips it back into the glove of Auerbach, who hangs on, and that'll be the second out of the inning. So a very good start here to Carson Coleman's outing as he gets back-to-back strikeouts, and now he's just 1 out away from retiring the side here that he's faced at least, and Harwich leaving the bases loaded as they had 3 on with nobody out.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a much easier pill to swallow being up 6 runs, but again, you like to at least give whoever comes in to pitch that final inning, the 7th inning, a big, comfortable cushion.
Here's Pat Winkle at the plate. First pitch he sees, he'll check his swing on and watch it go by for ball 1. That's the other thing. Coleman's falling behind the first 2 hitters that he's faced, but he's done an excellent job of bouncing back and making the most of it. With a 1-0 count, Carson Coleman comes set. Here comes the pitch to Winkle. Once again, he'll check his swing, pull it back, and take ball 2 high and away.
I'm sure Winkle would like to add a couple more RBIs as he's started to drive more and more runs in. We saw him not get a lot of hits but drive in runs. Now he's starting to add hits along with those RBIs.
Harwich looking for a few more insurance runs here. Bases loaded, 2 away. This pitch misses outside. Now Coleman's at risk of walking in one of those insurance runs. Winkle's already struck out twice today. This is certainly not the guy you want to walk with Riley Tirada standing on deck. So it's Tirada on deck. Pat Winkle at the plate. 2 outs here in the bottom half of the 6th inning in a 7-inning doubleheader game. Bases loaded, 3-0 count the pitch. Fastball in the zone, and now Winkle can take the bat off the shoulder and swing away freely here with the bases loaded.
And the middle infield respecting the power of Pat Winkle playing with their toes on the dirt.
The 3-1. And Winkle will foul that one off, so the count goes full here on the Yukon catcher. Couple of big insurance runs for the Harwich Mariners, who lead 6-0 here in the bottom of the 6th. They have 3 more outs left to get, and they secure a spot in the 2019 CCBL playoffs. Coleman, the 3-2. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Back-to-back-to-back strikeouts for Carson Coleman, and that will end the inning. So Harwich gets the bases loaded but leaves them stranded. We go to the top of the 7th. Harwich needs just 3 more outs to secure a playoff spot when we come back here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
Number 32.
Welcome back to White House Field. Tyler Henry, Colin Casey, as we go to the 7th and hopefully final inning And coming into pitch for the Harwich Mariners, it's a face most of us have come accustomed to seeing late in games. Closer Joe Boyle, the flamethrower out of Notre Dame, better known by this team as Irish Thunder, will come in and look for 3 more outs. And Colin, he actually did something no pitcher has done in CCBL history. He pitched a 100-mile-an-hour fastball at the All-Star game. He's got incredible speed on the fastball, anywhere between 97 to 101, and then a nasty slider to pair it with. He's looking for just 3 more outs and sending Harwich into the playoffs here in 2019.
Yeah, the success of Joe Boyle this season is really hinged on his ability to control that fastball. We know he can throw hard. Sometimes he has a little bit of trouble locating it, but when he's on, he's really on, and is one of probably the most unhittable relief pitchers in the entire CCBL. Let's see if he can hammer home 3 more outs and send the Harwich Mariners to the postseason.
Due up for the Brewster Whitecaps, Christian Malfetta, Marcos Castanon, and Duke Ellis. We'll see whether or not any pinch hitters come in here late in games. Really quickly, a final to pass your way. The Orleans Firebirds have defeated the Chatham Anglers, so they're really shaking things up here in the East as Orleans is now tied with Chatham for first place in the Eastern Division, and with YD losing today, Orleans could potentially take the 1 seed. That's almost not the greatest thing for a Harwich team that has struggled to beat them this year. They're 1-5 in the season series. But again, all of that will hinge on later games. Here it's about Harwich trying to lock down a playoff spot, and Joe Boyle's first task will be facing Christian Malfetta, who is 1 for 2 with a single and a strikeout today.
Yeah, Malfetta had a hard-hit ball back in the second inning, and it looked like in that top of the second that Brewster might have had an opportunity to strike first, but Polish proved otherwise.
Malfetta is hitting .313 on the year. First pitch he sees from Boyle will be fouled back. Again, Joe Boyle just has the 2 pitches, but it's a deadly 1-2 punch. And this is now the last game still going on in CCBL play today. June 30th, 2019. Harwich Mariners looking to put this one to bed. Boyle comes set, the 0-1. Fastball fouled away. Malfetta struggling to keep up with the speed of Joe Boyle, who's challenged him here with 2 fastballs, and we wonder whether or not we'll see the slider here.
Yeah, we'll see if he tries mixing in a breaking ball here and there, but sometimes he hasn't really even had to throw that slider. As long as he just throws gas, eventually he'll get someone to swing underneath it or swing past it.
Malfetta stands in, 0-2 count. Time is called. That one would have missed outside anyway. So the count stays 0-2 here on Christian Malfetta. Again, the Brewster Whitecaps will have another game with Harwich tomorrow, but if they don't come back and win today, it will not matter. Harwich up 6-0 here in the 7th inning of play. Christian Malfetta at the plate, Joe Boyle on the hill, and an 0-2 count. Boyle comes set, looks in, brings home the pitch, and that'll miss high for a ball. Not really sure what that's all about. Malfetta stomping up and down as if he's upset about something, but I don't know what about.
Maybe the fact that his team's trailing 6-0.
It certainly could be. So Malfetta stepping up to the plate again. This will be the final at bat for him in what has been a 4-year career for the Brewster Whitecaps. He will have a few at bats tomorrow as well. The 1-2 pitch, that'll miss outside. Of course, Malfetta's been around longer than any other Brewster Whitecap. We talked about it earlier in the broadcast. He was with the team when they won the CCBL title just a few years ago, and he's been with them through the ups and downs, including last year where they snuck into the playoffs and eliminated YD in the first round. He has not missed the playoffs as a Brewster Whitecap at any point in his career. The 2-2 pitch swung on and drilled out to deep left center field. Gallant will track it back, but it's at the warning track, and he will make the catch for out number 1, and that's what happens when you throw a guy a 100-mile-an-hour fastball and he connects with it even on a decent swing.
Yeah, sometimes it's a big trouble with even major league relievers that throw that hard in the upper 90s and the low 100s is they leave it over the plate and someone's sitting on it. They can hit it a very long way, and in that situation, that was the case. But Malfetta got a little bit under it, and Chris Galland went back to the warning track to make that play.
So here's Marcos Castanon. He himself is 1 for 2 today, a single and a fly out to left. He stands in from the left side. It'll be righty on righty. Boyle's first pitch is the slider, and that'll miss outside for ball 1.
Mariners scoring all 6 of their runs in that big second inning.
And that is all that it's taken so far as they still hold a 6-0 lead. The 1-0 to Castanon. Swung on and fouled away. The count will be evened up here at 1-1 as the Brewster Whitecaps are now down to their final 2 outs. Again, there will be another game tomorrow between the Brewster Whitecaps and Harwich Mariners at Stony Brook Field. Start time on that is set for 445, I believe. With a 1-1 count, Castanon stands in the pitch, and that will miss outside. Another slider for Joe Boyle, who's fallen behind here 2-1. He may want to go back to the fastball here. He may be hesitant to throw it, though, after the solid piece of hitting from Christian Malfetta took the Gowland all the way back to the warning track.
And the key here, just to throw strikes, honestly. You don't have to worry about nibbling on the corners. Just pound the strike zone and get your team out of here.
So the 2-1 count, Boyle sets, deals. Fastball misses high, and the count is 3-1. And, you know, really that was the one thing with Joe Boyle coming into the season. He had been almost perfect in every other regard, but control was something he struggled with at Notre Dame, and it's something he struggled with a little bit this year, not as much as certainly he could have. As Joe Boyle has a 2.08 ERA and 11 walks to 26 strikeouts. Ball foul back to the screen. We'll make the count full here. 3-2 count. Marcos Castanon at the plate. This will likely be his final at-bat of the day. As like many other Brewster Whitecaps in the lineup, he found his way on but did not find his way around. He takes a long look at Joe Boyle, now stands in, takes a couple of taps on the plate, winds the bat back, and he is ready for the pitch. Boyle comes to the belt, and the payoff pitch. Check swing, ball for no. They're going to call him out. Castanon, they say he went around, and that's going to be a strikeout for out number 2. Castanon can't believe it, and Harwich is 1 out away from a playoff spot. Castanon continuing to protest as he tosses his helmet and heads back to the dugout.
He barked a few words over at the home plate umpire before heading into the dugout. Just a frustrating day for the Brewster Whitecaps, and Castanon letting that boil over.
So here comes Duke Ellis. He represents the final out of the game and potentially the season here for the Brewster Whitecaps. Boyle sets the first pitch, and that will miss up and out for ball 1.
I mean, the Whitecaps were able to get 7 guys on base via a hit so far, so it's not like they haven't been hitting the ball at all in this entire game, but just no way to score any runs.
Big swing and a miss as Ellis is way behind the fastball here from Joe Boyle, and the count is 1-1. Boyle looking for another dominant shutdown inning. We've seen him have these throughout multiple games this season. He's already gotten the first 2, including a strikeout. Here comes the 1-1. Swung on and missed. Another fastball, and now Joe Boyle has put the Whitecaps on the doorstep of a playoff berth. Harwich is not allowed to run all game long despite 7 Brewster Whitecaps hits, and Joe Boyle is ready to close this one out. A 1-2 count, Duke Ellis at the plate. Boyle comes set, the pitch. Fastball just misses high, and the count is even at 2-2.
Yeah, Ellis, a good take there, a pitch that is probably just about a couple of inches above the strike zone, but 2-2 count, Boyle gets another opportunity.
Joe Boyle sets, 2-2 count, the pitch. That'll miss outside. So Harwich, a team that has had a very, very up and down season, a team that has been behind 500 since June 22nd prior to today. A team that was out of a playoff spot 2 weeks ago and now finally is on the doorstep of a berth. The payoff pitch. And that will just miss for a ball. So it's going to be a walk issued for Joe Boyle, the Duke Ellis here. And that'll bring up Brett Auerbach.
Yeah, it looked like that pitch just missed off the outside corner. It was very close, but that final out will have to wait, and that'll give Brett Auerbach his 4th chance of the evening.
Brett Auerbach strides to the plate, a runner on first here in the bottom of the last, or the top of the last inning here for the Brewster Whitecaps as they trail 6-0.
Jacob Polish looking to pick up what would be his 5th victory of the season.
Boyle checks the runner back to first, brings the pitch home. Slider will miss outside. Count goes 1-0. Big Joe Boyle out there on the hill, the big righty for the Harwich Mariners, standing in at 6'6" and looks every bit of it. Here comes his 1-0 pitch. That'll miss high, and the count is 2-0 here.
Seems like he's overthrowing pretty much every fastball, as everything that he's missing with is high, so he can't quite bring that pitch down, and if he's able to, can be a dangerous spot if he leaves it over the plate, as we saw with Malfetta earlier in the inning.
Auerbach with a 2-0 count, a pretty favorable position for him. Here's Boyle's pitch. That one's going to be ripped up the right side. That'll get down for a hit, so Back-to-back base runners are going to reach here. And here comes Jesse Franklin.
Yet the Brewers not quite going down without a fight, as all of a sudden the dangerous part of the order coming up, and they're looking to try to make a little bit of two-out noise despite being just one out away from having their playoffs hopes dashed.
Well, give credit to the Whitecaps. They are not giving up on this game just yet. As here comes Jesse Franklin, runners at first and second. Harwich still leading 6-0. Their closer, Joe Boyle, still out there on the bump. The first pitch to Franklin, he'll swing on and foul this one back, a fastball, and the count goes 0-1.
I like that a lot more from Boyle, going right after the batter with the first pitch to Franklin that's right on the outside corner, forcing him to swing the bat.
See whether or not Boyle challenges Franklin with another fastball here on an 0-1 count. Here comes the pitch. And that'll be fouled back as well, so once again, Joe Boyle is just one strike away from sending Harwich to the playoffs.
If I'm him, I'm going right back to that fastball, as Franklin's been struggling to catch up with it, so.
Boyle's been one of the most overpowering pitchers in the Cape Cod Baseball League all season long. He needs just one more strike to send Harwich through to the promised land. The 0-2 pitch. Swing and a miss, strike three. The Harwich Mariners are playoff bound in 2019 as the team comes out to congratulate Joe Boyle. He will pick up the save, and the Mariners are going dancing. We will take a break, and when we come back, we will be right here to cap it off. The Harwich Mariners win 6-0 over the Brewster Whitecaps, and for the 2019 season, it will not be over tomorrow, regardless of result, here on the Harwich Mariners YouTube network.
Welcome back to White House Field. The final score in this one, the Harwich Mariners clinch a playoff spot and eliminate Brewster from playoff contention as they defeat the Whitecaps by a final score of 6-0. And Tyler, it was just one big inning for Harwich, and it seemed like that took all the wind out of the Brewster Whitecaps sails.
Yeah, it's tough to survive a 6-run sucker punch. Harwich completely dropping it on him with a couple of big home runs, including Chris Galland on a 3-run bomb, and Lanzilli getting it done with a couple of hits himself, and then, of course, the other home run hit by Corey Acton. So a big inning. It turns out that's all it takes. Harwich will be in the postseason regardless of tomorrow's game with Brewster, and that is a big sigh of relief for a team that's been on the cusp all season long.
So with the victory, the Harwich Mariners once again back at 500 on the season. They improve to 21-21-1 on the year. Brewster falls to 18-22-2 as Mariners improve their home record, now 13-8-1 at White House Field. The win goes Jacob Polish, who was dominant once again, goes 6 innings, allowing just 7 hits, no runs, didn't walk anyone, and struck out 5. Joe Boyle cleaned things up in the 7th, the final frame. Gave up a walk and a hit, but struck out 2 batters in that final inning that he pitched. The loss in this one goes to Daniel Harper, who falls to 0-3 on the season, and you have to wonder if that was the right call to go with him in this potential season-extending game for the Brewster Whitecaps. If they won, then it would have meant that that game tomorrow between the Whitecaps and the Mariners would have been for that final playoff spot. But instead, Harper only goes an inning and 2/3, giving up 6 runs all earned on 8 hits. He walked 1 and struck out 1 as well. So for the Mariners, it was 6 runs on 10 hits, no errors, and they left 10 men on base. Brewster Whitecaps had no runs on 8 hits, 2 errors committed, both by shortstop Gage Workman, and they left 8 men on base. So for both these teams, they will play one last time. The Mariners' final game of the regular season will be tomorrow afternoon. First pitch set at 4:45. That will take place at Stony Brook Field. Brewster will also, of course, have the game tomorrow, but they will wrap up their season on August 1st against the Bourne Braves. Well, for all of us here at the Harwich Mariners broadcast booth, for our producer Matt Lucy, for my color commentator and my broadcast partner Tyler Henry, I'm Colin Casey. Thank you for joining us on this long day of baseball. Once again, the Harwich Mariners have clinched the final playoff spot in the Eastern Division of the CCBL by a final score of 6-0 over the Brewster Whitecaps. So long, everybody, and we will see you tomorrow where we will have the radio call at Stony Brook Field between the Brewster Whitecaps and the Harwich Mariners. You've been listening to the Harwich Mariners Radio Network.